Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Lucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
I think we're coming into this year with a new confidence.
Schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
that's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
You had no other option but one hand at that point.
Yeah, man, 50-50 ball, I got to come down with it.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
I shouldn't do it. Obi, I'm going to tell you, it fuels me, but I shouldn't do it because I'm doing exactly what they want me to do.
Okay.
I'm doing something that is counterproductive to what I should be doing, but I'm wired a certain way.
Okay.
All right. Did I get your attention?
Yeah. I want to know where this is going.
There are J-holes in the media that are lazy.
J-holes?
Yeah, I was Jack holes,
okay.
J-holes.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I'm trying to clean it up.
I usually pick another letter.
Yeah, I'm just trying to clean it up.
But go on.
Like, look, there are people who I take very dearly this profession, right? I have a microphone which has power, all right? You have the ability to talk on the microphone and write. What we say should matter. We should not say things just for clicks. We should not say things just to be Skip Bayless and try to make a name for ourselves. We should actually think about what we say.
Agreed.
All right? And have reasons for it. Yes. But when you are an idiot, when you just say things, and I know they're doing it for the clicks, for the views, right? Mm-hmm. I would like to say that my work, your work, Billy's work, when we do things, it is not for clicks, although we want clicks.
Yeah,
we want people to consume the information. By the way.
But we're not going to give misinformation just to try to get clicks.
Or just to say things just to be, like, look at this. I got a hot take.
Right.
I got a hot take.
That's the sad part of media today.
I ran into 2 hot takes yesterday. I'm only going to address one right now because I don't have the bandwidth to fight everybody right now. This is not going to be an SEC mic fight, although it could. But people who just say stuff to say stuff bug me. All right? You do a discredit to the industry, to what we do. Do you think that people know what show this is?
Yeah, well, sure they do. It's the Go Hour.
Okay. And that's presented by somebody.
CC Creations.
And this actual presentation is called TexAgs Radio. And that's presented by somebody, too.
David Gardner Jewelers.
Oh,
he's a gem of the guy.
He is great. He's so gemish. And then this little room, which is a big room.
This is the Rollo Insurance Studio.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I knew where I was. All right, I'm going to play this clip.
Okay.
I may get in trouble for playing the clip. I probably shouldn't play the clip.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
You've probably already heard it. No?
Well, I haven't.
Okay.
Maybe, but I don't know exactly what you're talking about.
Listen to this take.
However, don't go in there playing around.
Kyle Field is the least daunting SEC home field outside of Vanderbilt. I'm not worried, dude. I'm not worried.
You've never been there. You know what you need to do? I'm going to give you some homework. You need to go back to Kyle Field versus LSU, Alabama, any of them, and tell me that's not
It's Mike Elko's first game. I didn't
say they were going to lose.
Yeah, I'm not, but I'm not worried. I think Notre Dame is going to make an example.
Did your quarterback go through spring ball?
All right. So the dude on the left seems to have a level head. The dude on the right wearing an LSU hat is not an LSU fan. He's a Notre Dame fan.
Okay.
I don't know if he's ever been to Kyle Field. I don't know. All right. But it doesn't take a brainiac to figure out that Kyle Field on all these lists of all time has always routinely been a top 5, top 10 stadium experience. You can Google it. It doesn't take much to see that.
Yeah.
We can go through the SEC stadium. We can go through every stadium in the country. One of the next to Vanderbilt, the least daunting stadium in the SEC.
Yeah, I would vehemently disagree with that. Now I'll say this: I've always said it. I don't think of Kyle Field as being a hostile environment because, as college football fans go, Aggies are really well behaved. as college football fans go.
But if we're talking,
they're loud.
Yes.
And they know when to be loud.
They're not going to curse you out. No, we're not. We're not.
That's what I'm saying.
prisoners.
It's not a hostile environment, but it's a great environment. And again, can they affect the game? Yeah, I've seen it affect.
They have affected many games
because they're loud. But you don't have to go in there and worry that you're going to get, a bottle or a battery thrown at you or a tortilla or
that makes it really intimidating for the players.
Or or bags of urine, Colorado. You don't have to worry about stuff like that. In fact, somebody will stand right next to a guy from the other team and have a nice conversation with them. But they're going to be, they know to get quiet when A&M has the ball, and they know to get crazy loud when the other team's trying to call plays.
Haven't coaches, players that you've played against all mentioned, like, I couldn't hear myself think in that bad
I've heard that.
Look, I'm not saying you have to say it's number one. Just don't be stupid and say it's Vanderbilt.
But he's probably never been there.
Of course.
You said. Is it like LSU? It can be, with the exception of the vulgarities and
14-year-olds drinking beer in the parking lot.
Right.
Other than that, So let's just kind of go through some of these. Kroger Field.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think Kentucky is.
I'm not being rude to Kentucky, but I don't think anybody in the world would compare Kroger Field to Kyle Field.
Well, first of all, it's about half the size.
Davis Wade Stadium. I mean, it's cool. It's a great SEC environment.
Yeah, it's about 50,000, and if you don't have the cowbells, then it's just another place.
I have not been to Razorback Stadium. You have. I'm sure it's a great SEC environment.
It's a good SEC environment, no doubt.
Farrett Field, I went there with 9 people. Faroe Field, sorry.
Yeah, Missouri.
I went. There was a high school stadium.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, guys. I'm not trying to be rude here. I'm just saying you can't play this game comparing. All right. When we went 2 years, 21. I think we went in 21. There was literally 47 people in the stands. It was not a good day. Ole Miss, nice SEC environment. Very nice. Okay. South Carolina, William Bryce Stadium, another very nice SEC stadium.
They have great fan support at South Carolina. I do wish they didn't have that godforsaken rooster crow every time they get a first down. But that adds to the element. Yeah, it's South Carolina's a very good SEC environment, no doubt.
Jordan Hare, excellent SEC environment, right?
Yep.
And so now we're getting to like the big ones, right? Ben Hill Griffin Stadium for the Gators, the Swamp, obviously. Bryant Denny, obviously. Sanford Stadium for Georgia, obviously a great. Tiger Stadium we've mentioned, and Neyland Stadium for Tennessee. All great stadiums.
And by the way, I've been at Tennessee when they weren't good, and when you get 60,000 people in that 100,000 seat stadium, I guess you can say this for anybody, but I've been there at Tennessee when they weren't good, and it feels like nobody's there.
Well, the bottom line is, like, just don't say, to me, that is somebody who, by the way, if you go to his Twitter, he's really proud of his mentions. He's like, this is why he did it.
Yeah, I want attention. Okay.
Yeah, I want attention. You're getting your attention, okay? And
I've never heard of the guy.
Oh, neither have I. He probably hasn't heard of me either, but I'll put my resume against anybody.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you've interviewed stars.
Brad Pitt. My good friend Brad.
Did y'all talk about hair together?
We did. Yeah, we talked about growing hair out and modeling and stuff like that. Yeah, my good
I can see that.
My other good friend Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
God, what a gem of a man as well.
Talk about lifting
pumping
weights,
iron and
pumping
like
iron.
superheroes. Yeah, he was great. Jackie Chan, another dear friend. Jackie Chan.
Okay.
The best. The dude, what's his name? King of Queens main guy, Kevin
James.
Kevin.
Should talk about food.
We talked about.
No, I don't eat this, Kevin.
We talked about the UFC. Is what we talked about.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
These are.
But this guy's probably never.
He's probably interviewed them.
No, probably not.
Look, I'm not. He might have a great career. I don't want to pick on that. I just think it sounds to me, and I don't know the guy. You just
next to Vanderbilt. Oh,
yeah,
shut up.
That's just again trying to get attention and or just look. It's okay to be ignorant. Just don't announce it in neon. I'm ignorant on the subject I'm talking about.
Yeah. There's another clip that I found that you may have seen. I'm not going to play it here. Some guy talking bad about College Station. Like, I'm going to stay in. He's a Notre Dame dude with 900 followers.
Look, I've been to South Bend, and I've been to South Bend when it's not a game day weekend. Like I was in South Bend in the spring, and let's see, you might as well be in North Zulch. No offense, North Zulch, but if they would put a Fairfield in North Zulch, you might as well be there.
Right.
On a spring, if there's there's no game weekend. North Zulch, build a Fairfield Inn and a grotto, and you're Notre Dame. Or you're South Bend.
I haven't been to South Bend. I hope to go next year. I'm sure it's a cool town too.
And if you live up there,
right.
I'm sure you're kind of messed up because mayor. But
if you have not been to a place, like he actually says, but I actually have never been there.
Well,
it's close to a place called the Woodlands. I guess they have a lot of woods. Dude, don't be stupid.
Well, you would think right there, then the people listening. I mean, you go ahead and tell everyone that you have no credibility as soon as you. Don't you hate people that argue about things that they don't know about?
Yes.
I mean, that they really don't know about.
I hate the way they walk, the way they talk, the way they dress.
Logan Lee will not watch a basketball game with anybody else. He told me this. He watched it by himself because if he's with someone who makes comments that they just don't know what they're talking about, it pisses him off. And so he's best just to watch it by himself. And Logan Lee's the nicest guy in the world.
He's a great guy. Actually, he invites me to watch basketball all the time.
No, I bet he doesn't. Because he cannot. So the point I'm making is if you know what you're talking about, or if you have an opinion, great. But if you're going to come right back and say, oh, this is a terrible place.
Right.
Oh, and I've never been there, then you're
stupid.
You are.
Here's the thing. You want to say to me, hey,
I don't even know
I went to Kyle Field and I wasn't as intimidated as I expected. Okay. Well, let's talk about which game did he go to. Let's talk about the circumstances. That's a conversation.
Well, again, Kyle Field is not an intimidating venue. It's not intimidating in that some places you go and you worry that you might get hurt. That's not going to happen.
Right.
There. But it is effective. Does the crowd affect the game? Yes.
It absolutely affects the game.
Remember, Dan Mullen, they only had 25,000 people.
And yes.
And Dan Mullen's whining like a little baby or something that might start with a B about, oh, they brought in more fans than they were supposed to. No, we saw the aerial shot, but with 25,000, they affected a game in which A&M upset the number 4 team in the country.
Well, by the way, College Station, Bryan, the entire Brazos County, clean. Nice people.
Not bad traffic, low crime rate.
Yeah. There's woods.
Affordable.
Oh, what's wrong with how we founded this country? Like agriculture. Hello? I don't know if we found it that way, but.
Well, I would say this. Anybody that, and of course I lived in Austin for forever and I heard people with the jokes and everything, but people that make fun of farmers say, okay, well, then what if we don't, are typically the same people that don't want to eat meat.
Well,
thank you, farmers. Thank you.
Not that I leave my door unlocked, but I can.
You know what? You say that the other day. I guess I didn't shut the door all the way, and the wind must have blown over. I come out, get up in the morning, the door's wide open. Did I really have to worry about that? Of course, I locked my door. Of course,
if there's a weirdo, but
But you know what? Nothing.
Try that in Houston.
Yeah. That big 110-pound German Shepherd might have had something to do with it, but the point is, I didn't feel unsafe.
Yeah, well, it's safe, it's pretty, it's clean. We've got
good restaurants.
What do you need in life? You need a Costco. We got one. We got the other one, Sam's. Right. We've got a mall. Even though people don't go to the malls anymore, they do it on Amazon. We've got every restaurant that you would think about. If you want more, okay. You want to be close to a big city, 45 minutes, you're in Tomball or Magnolia, whatever.
Oh, yeah, I always say this. You can do anything in the world that you want to do living in College Station. You might have to plan just a little bit, but I can be in the 4th largest city in the country in an hour and a half.
Look, And
I can be in the 10th largest city in the country in an hour and a half.
This might come across as a shot at Baton Rouge. I wouldn't want to live in Baton Rouge, me personally. Okay, I am, and this is not because Baton Rouge versus.
Well, there are people in Baton Rouge that don't want to live there because they just broke free of the town to start their own town.
Right.
St. George's. You can look that up.
But I love living here. I love the proximity to Houston. It doesn't matter. I don't need to be a slogan for a Brian College Station, right? The point is when people just say things because they think, oh well,
right.
I want to, and then they love their mentions.
Right. It's what media has disintegrates. Not the word I want to use, but it's what media has ascended into, or not even ascended. It's not good enough.
And here's
descended.
I know one of those guys said they're going to be at Kyle Field for the game. I'll go shake your hand, bro. Because I don't hide from my thoughts. I will absolutely put my hand on your back and say, hey, I'm David Nuño from TexAgs. I saw your commentary.
And then punch him?
No. Homeboy steps up.
And then put him one of those locks.
No, I don't believe in physical danger, all right? Unless they touch me. Definitely not in the press box. I don't want Alan Cannon and Brad Marquardt.
You don't want to get on Alan.
You're out.
You don't want to get on Alan Cannon's bad side. He's like the nicest guy in the world next to Logan Lee, but he once made his mother leave the press box.
Oh, wow.
She was cheering for the Aggies.
Well,
he said, there's no cheering in the press box, and by gosh, Alan Cannon means it when he says it.
You're out. But, and by the way,
that's the way it's supposed to be, too.
It's not a physical thing, but I will, I talk to people. I'll go up to you like, hey, man, so you really don't like this town? Oh, man, I'm just doing a stick thing. Huh, I'm not.
No, you know what? If you don't like College Station,
that's fine. Whatever.
That's fine with me because, quite frankly,
we don't need you.
There's so many people moving in here. You're like, pump the brakes a little bit. If it's such a sad, bad place, why are so many people moving here?
I wonder why. Doesn't matter.
I mean, I come to work near my neighborhood. They're bulldozing land to put up more places.
Just more houses, more neighborhoods, more restaurants. It's great. So we're not going to hear
my property taxes keep going up.
Yeah, that's the problem. Okay, we need to slow that down, guys. But bottom line, you're not going to catch this show.
They open an IHOP and my property taxes go up. Shouldn't that? I think that should be a deduction.
I agree with that. Anyway, I apologize for 17 minutes of ranting and just,
I had a monster this morning. Sounds like you did
could tell. No,
you just had that TexAgs coffee.
TexAgs coffee. Beat the hell out of mornings by going to texags.com/coffee. Hold on, let me have a sip, OB.
The taste of College Station.
Ay, que rico.
Via El Salvador.
Anyway, guys, I hope we meet someday. We can chit-chat in person. Let's go around the room and say hello to the people. By the way, if you want to be a part of the conversation, 979-693-1150. That is the phone number. We say hi to Nick Savage, who's behind the glass. Nick, good morning.
It is actually Cade Bickham behind the glass today.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's why the music didn't fade correctly.
Yeah, that's
why.
That is why.
Hey, buddy.
How's it going? I would like to shift gears to a little bit of baseball. How are we feeling about the series coming up?
Well, I hope we have a game later on today. I could see a scenario where they start like at 8:30 because the weather's out of town. Last night when I was looking at it, that was a possibility that the weather could be out by 7 or 8, right?
Yeah. I was looking at I hope they're able to play. What I don't get is, look, I understand you want as many people there as possible, but Arkansas is already here. So if it's not raining at like say 4, why don't you just start playing at 4?
Because I think it's going to be raining at 4.
Oh, I said if it's not. If it's not raining at 2,
right.
Why don't you start playing at 2?
I think the contingency is they could potentially even play Sunday. I think they could still. So, what else, Kate? Anything else going on in your world, buddy?
Well, I was going to say in terms of the baseball, I think, and I wonder what Schloss thinks about this, but I think that sometimes I know that we've hit somewhat of a skid here in terms of, lost a couple series in a row. I think sometimes it's better to have a few losses like that right before the postseason, just so like what the losses feel like, what you're doing wrong in those games, and then it gets you more ready for like those must-win scenarios in the actual postseason. And I would wonder what Schloss thinks about that if he's like, well, it sucks losing these games late, but we can learn a lot more losing games late than we can losing them early in the season.
I don't know if that's something you vocalize in the middle of it, right? I think that's something maybe looking back after the season, if they had this championship run that we expect them to have or hope for them to have, you could be like, you know what? That might have been a really good thing for us because it kind of got us recentered and we figured out some issues we were having. I think they want to win every game as much, by as many runs as possible. But when I may even ask them this, when do you want to be at your best? Obviously, you want to be at your best in the postseason. But what does that mean? Does that mean that starts now? When does momentum really take effect for it to carry through in a postseason run?
I'm one of those that say it's only on the rarest of circumstances is a loss good. And I'm talking about the absolute rarest.
Agreed.
I don't know why I never understood the need for, quote, the wake-up call. Why did you need a wake-up call? Why were you asleep? Right, figure out what you're doing wrong in a win. Right, but all that matters is this series, right? So just because you won a series against Georgia doesn't mean you're gonna who's better than LSU doesn't mean you're gonna win a series with LSU, and they didn't. Right. Just because you lost a series to Florida doesn't mean you can't win a series over somebody that they beat. So all that matters is next series. Play well against Arkansas. I wish there was a championship on the line. I don't think there is, but play well and secure that top 8 seed, which you probably got it anyway. But I do think, and Schlossnagle may completely disagree with this, but I do think that even before the playoffs, you want to be playing your best performance, regardless of sport, going into
100%
the playoffs.
100%. All right, let's do this. We need to check in at the Angry Elephant Houston Social Center. We won't do it right now. We're going to make Carson Stein wait for his debut because it's already 8:22, so we'll do that on the other side. We'll introduce you to Carson. We'll get to some text messages at 979-693-1150. All right, if you have an organization or a business that's looking for an opportunity to engage with Aggies, you need to check out the Association of Former Students. They bring Aggies of all ages together for all their awesome events out there. Marquee events like Aggie Ring Day, all Aggie Hullabaloo Gathering. They all welcome a bunch of people. Tens of thousands of people make it out there. And there are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities available to get your brand in front of all those great attendees. All these events offer a wide variety in both digital and in-person options to promote your brand that include title sponsorship, naming, on-site presence, activation, recognition, and social media posts, and much, much more. Also, there's advertising opportunities in the Texas Aggie Magazine and the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage, choose a partner with the organization that's been supporting the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information on options available through the association, please visit sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. Welcome back into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Today is Thursday, May the 16th, 2024, OB. I bet you knew that.
Yeah, I did. I'm excited about today.
It's a good day. Why are you excited for baseball?
What you will experience in about 3 to 4 years, perhaps. The young man's coming home.
Oh, yeah. How long is he in town?
Just through the weekend.
Okay.
But he's coming home. Hadn't seen him in a while.
It's the best, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I miss my boy.
I'm already missing. My boys are about to finish their sophomore year. I'm already missing them, even though I got 2 more years left.
Just wait. So, and he's probably only about an hour away because I called him. He'd left early. If you live in Baton Rouge or visit there a lot, you figure out right away, leave early or come late, because if there's any traffic trying to get over the Mississippi Bridge, you're stuck.
Right.
So he got up like 4 a.m. and left. So he's almost home.
He's almost here.
Almost home.
Good stuff. So let's do this. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Aggies gather at the Angry Elephant. Carson Stein is our new social center person. And do you know his story?
I don't.
I think
I know he's the Marlin guy, right?
He's the Marlin guy, but you've actually heard his story before.
Really?
I'm going to allow Carson to tell his version of how he got to TexAgs. Carson, good morning, buddy. How you doing?
Did your family invent
Good morning. How are y'all doing?
the German beer mug, the Stein?
That I don't know, but I'll probably have to look that up.
Yeah, you have to Google that one, Carson. Hey, tell people how you and I met.
So it was Easter weekend. I was coming back home from Tarleton to visit my parents for the weekend, and I'm driving back home. I go into my dirt. We live on a dirt road, and so I go off the highway, and there's a car parked right next to the railroad track. And I've seen that before. Like, I'm used to seeing that. So I drove slow because I didn't want to throw rocks on him or anything, and I'm accidentally, like, we kind of make eye contact, and I look. I was like, oh my gosh, that looks like David Nuño from TexAgs. I kind of recognize him. And I was literally watching like a Mike Elko press conference 5 minutes prior. So I go up to my house, throw all my stuff in the house, drive back down, ask him, hey, are you David Nuño? He's like, yeah, where do you know me from? I was like, oh, I know you from TexAgs. Obviously, where else would I know you from? And so we helped him change the tire. I told him how I was graduated from Tarleton with a bachelor's in sports communications. And he said, if you want an internship, you got it.
Yeah, so I basically interviewed him as we're trying to change my tire, and we're both the idiots that decided, sorry, Carson, we're family now, that we what do you call it? We got the car up, and then we started taking off the bolts.
Take the lug nuts off first.
And we didn't do it that way. Yeah. And they were like, man.
Because the car
but we weren't
leverage.
thinking. Yeah. We were having an interview.
We were having an interview.
We're having it like, and my daughter's in the car, and like, I'm very protective of my daughter,
Of course.
Very protective. And their house is like, it's a little further back, and she needed to use the restroom, and I let her go to their house. That's how much I trusted this family. So they made a great impression on me.
Well, and what I take away from that is, so if you're looking for a internship at TexAgs, just
take care of me.
Follow David and wait for his car to break down.
Let me go ahead and tell you, if dude was creepy, if dude didn't talk, we'd have been like, thanks for your help, man. I think I got this I got AAA on the way. Thank you. But he was great. So, Carson, happy you're here on the team. Thanks very much. Let's. Oh, by the way, Tarleton, we kind of skipped over this.
Texans.
Well, not only that, he was front row for Billy Gillespie and Joseph Jones all year.
All year.
You were there for all the games, right?
Didn't they have the lead in their
games.
conference championship game, and then it just slipped away late?
Yes and no.
Oh, well.
So like in the WAC tournament, we had a lead on UTA, or University of Texas Arlington,
right,
by like 15 with like 10 minutes left. Gave that up, I think we lost with like 20 seconds left.
Yeah.
Lost the lead, and then
tough break.
It wouldn't have mattered though, since we're still under the I don't want to say
you
probation.
Couldn't get in?
Yeah. No, if we
it's
would have
not
won
probation,
the tournament.
but it's like you got to pay your dues before they let
the
you.
reclassification.
Right.
Yep. All right, Carson, give us some news. What do you got for us?
I got something from the text line from Randall from Salado. He says, I went to a Notre Dame game last season. It's got a 1990s atmosphere. Only speakers were in the scoreboard. Talk to us when you get surround sound.
Yeah, look, Notre Dame, I've been there for a game. I saw USC beat the living daylights out of them when Jimmy Clausen was their quarterback. And what's the fat guy, Charlie, the coach?
Charlie Weiss?
Charlie Weiss was the coach. And, it's a good game day atmosphere. Yep. No doubt. I'm not gonna disrespect them on game day. But like I said, I've been there just in the regular time of year, and like, oh God.
Is South Bend in the middle of nowhere?
It's about 2 hours from Chicago.
Oh, and we're an hour from Houston? They made it sound like College Station was so far from everything. Ooh.
Oh, no, we're so much closer to Houston than they are Chicago.
Huh. That's where people fly in, right? If you go to South Bend, you
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I flew into Chicago. I stayed in Chicago and drove into South Bend.
Look, I haven't been. Sorry. Like, I have nothing negative to say. I'm excited about going to Notre Dame next year. Very excited about it. But, of course, I don't make my opinions based on sports take. I like to see things and experience it myself.
Or at least wait until you've actually experienced
100%.
Before you criticize. Because I've been there.
You can criticize.
And I tell you, on a game day,
it's a good environment.
Good environment.
Yeah.
And I ran into nice folks.
I have respect for any place that fills up 80,000+ or whatever it does there, and they're passionate about their football. Wisconsin, Texas A&M, I have respect for them all. They all have their own game day charm.
Mm-hmm.
I just like ours the best.
And you know what? I'll say this: they were friendly, polite fans when I was there, actually getting to the stadium. And I don't know what it was like in the stadium because I was in the press box next to Adam Rittenberg.
Oh yeah.
But once again, I was there to see it, so I'm not going to pan them. I mean, it was a nice experience. But I've been there when it's not a game day, and it's like, okay, let's see how much the grass is going to grow today.
Right. Hey, Carson, one more text. Let's go.
One more text. Let me pull one up for you.
I feel like the Jeopardy music should be going.
Hank in College Station says, sounds like a typical Notre Dame fan stirring the pot. However, I do lock my doors. BTHO Razorbacks. Brandon, class of 96.
All right, Brandon. Appreciate you.
Lock your doors. I'm just saying that I locked mine.
And for everybody listening that doesn't like me, I definitely lock my doors with my Glock and my dogs.
Okay.
So, but I don't feel like I have to.
I don't. If there was something happens, like you didn't lock your door, you didn't close your door enough, and the wind blew it open, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be okay. In fact, I was saying off the air, if there is anything, if the guy came down here and wanted to say College Station is ridiculous because of those godforsaken medians that interrupt traffic and you can't, then I'd say, yes, I am with you. Someone in city government got to pay off to come up to have those things constructed that make no sense and screw up everything. You can't get anywhere because of the... Then that's a valid criticism.
Then you'd be like, you know what? He's got a point.
Nothing else is a valid criticism.
You want to say, I don't like the humidity. Okay.
Yeah, but that's
Texas, South Texas.
I don't like your snow up in South Bend. I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah. I don't like. Yeah. I was going to try to come up with something, but I decided against it. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's move on. Hush and Whisper time. You got to go to Hush and Whisper.
I will.
You got to take Irma soon, bro.
Yeah, she likes to drink whiskey.
Well, you just want go for the whiskey, go for the environment, go for the tour. You get to see how they do the whole thing. Do a taste test, right? They'll teach you how to do the Kentucky Chew. Do the Kentucky Chew for me.
Kentucky Chew.
That sounds like a horse.
Well, Kentucky, they have a lot of race horses up there.
You can reserve a tour, a tasting. You can do meetings there, celebrations. It's like your 1930s vaudeville. It's awesome. All right, I'm just telling you, you'll love it. OB, it's here in town, and it kind of feels like
Prohibition time, huh?
Kind of feels that way a little bit.
Hush, whisper.
Hush and whisper. They're in the Briscoe building, which, by the way, I've told you, I started my radio career at Power 94, the only station that gives a jam up there.
I like that.
Yeah, that's your kind of station.
It is my kind of station.
They
depending on what they play.
Oh, I'll tell you at the break. You'll love the music there. By the way, 6 months after opening their door, they're getting recognized for exemplary craftsmanship. The 2024 ADI Spirits Competition, Brian's own Hush and Whisper Distilling Company outperformed this competition to medal with each product entered out there. You need to schedule some tours that start on Thursday. You might be able to see and smell the gin being made in front of you as you order a Gordon Cup from the bar. It is 219 North Main Street in Bryan. Go check it out, Hush and Whisper, or go to hushandwhisper.com. Little Jason and Coach on the YouTube page trying to get attention for their YouTube channel. Talking about, I'll just block them so nobody can see it. Or no, I'll keep them on there because I like people. It says, well, I guess we should be real scared since you have a Costco and Sam's and can leave your door open at night. Scary, huh?
Well, that's the point. You don't have to be scared. That's why College Station is such a good place
to
live.
Yeah, we didn't say that. My whole thing is just be respectful. If you haven't experienced it, like, don't say outlandish things. I don't think what I'm saying is outlandish by expecting for a journalist, quote unquote, to say that.
Again, journalist doesn't mean what it used to mean. Journalists used to be the voice of reason.
Used to,
and now.
And I'm not saying I'm the voice of reason by any stretch, for the record, but I do try to call it. I try to be very fair. That's what I try to do.
Well, journalism used to be about finding facts, stating facts, both sides of a story. Let the consumer decide, but give them as much information from both sides of the story. Now it's just like you said, hot takes. I'm just going to say, like, I'm going to talk about how bad a place is when I've never been there.
Right.
And that's what passes as media today. And it's just it's sad that that media has deteriorated to this point.
I will say this: I do have respect for the hustle to make in this very hard industry. Like, I do respect the hustle and try. Like, I remember one of the issues I had with SEC Mike, who I think has done a phenomenal job with his channel. I don't know if you ever watch his stuff, but Mike is really good. I do sometimes have issues with the hot sports take, but I'll give Mike this credit. He finds a way to. He doesn't just have a take without substance behind it. Right?
It's like when I say that I don't like that I think Alabama fans are the worst fans in the world. Right? I hate Alabama not because of the program, because they're fans. And I'll tell you why. Yeah. And I'll say, well, and I'll talk about Harvey Updike, and I'll talk about the teabagger, and I'll talk about his name was Brian Downing, by the way, and I can go down the list. Remember the woman that got that attacked a bunch of OU frat boys in the Sugar Bowl because I mean, and you can go on and on and on with story after story. The story about the woman that killed her sister-in-law because she wasn't upset enough about Alabama.
That one.
Yeah. So you see those they're not isolated. And I always think the thing that made me hate Alabama fans, and I'm getting to the point I'm making, was with the teabagger deal. There was like 50 people in that who are Alabama fans in that Crystals where that happened, and not one of them said, "Hey, dude, you don't want to do that. Stop. Come on, you're drunk. Don't do that. Don't." No, everybody's laughing at it. So you couldn't even say it was the one guy. So when I say I hate Alabama fans, I'm saying, look, this is what I'm basing it on. I have this to base it on. A basketball player contributes to giving a gun to a guy that shoots and kills somebody, and the next thing you know, at the SEC SEC basketball tournament, there's an Alabama fan walking around with we take our best shot, and their coach says, so that's the reason I can put some substance behind it. I don't just say, I hate them because they're jerks.
I read once from somebody else who didn't like College Station.
So if you want to say I hate something, or this guy sucks because, or whatever, if somebody says, I hate Olin Buchanan because he's very conservative and I'm not, then okay.
You're conservative?
Extremely. Unapologetically.
Really? Are you serious?
It's true.
I don't think you. Wait, I didn't know that.
But if you're going to hate me for my point of view, okay, we disagree. That's fine. If you want for that. But then you have a reason.
I try. Look, and I'm not perfect at this. I try not to hate people for opinions. All right? Like, I try not to. Like, when I truly dislike somebody, it's either years of evidence or enough evidence, or like my encounters with them. But if you hate A&M because you're a Texas fan, I can be your boy.
It's like
fine, whatever.
Nico, I'm leaving on a jet plane, right? I always say I'm not saying the guy's not good because I don't know, but when you're hyping him the way you are, I'm thinking, what are you basing it on?
Sure.
Because he completed 9 of 12 against Vanderbilt? Because he ran 3 short touchdowns in a bowl win? That's what you're basing it on?
Let me ask you this. Has Tennessee re-arrived as a program, as a national threat again? Because when you re-arrive, because Tennessee has been a national threat,
Yeah.
then you get the benefit of the doubt in that
but
conversation.
I don't know that they have. I think.
I don't know either.
I think for 1 year, until Hendon Hooker got hurt, they were a national championship contender.
Correct.
And I think Hendon Hooker should have won the Heisman Trophy that year.
100%.
But what were they all those years before that, and what were they last year?
And I guess that's more my point. When you have a track record and a proven track record in recent memory, right? I'm not just talking about in the early 90s or the early 2000s. Like over the last 5 years, Florida has been
bad.
But they are a proud program that has been great, right?
Yes.
But right now, I have no reason to believe that their quarterback is going to be fantastic, right? Like there's not enough evidence there to do that. Right. Now, Tennessee, if they had continued to, if Hendon would have had a great year, and then Joe Milton would have had a great year, then I'd be like, and Joe Milton was good.
And everybody was telling you how good Joe Milton was going to be, and he really wasn't.
Right. But I guess that's my point. When you show, okay, well, look, that's why I can look at Georgia beyond how great they are from Stetson Bennett to now, like, and be like, all right, this is a couple quarterbacks in a row that have played at a very, very high level.
Yeah. Well, when I look at Georgia and I think, okay, they've lost 2 or 3 guys in the offensive line. They lost the best tight end and maybe the best player in college football. They lost their best wide receiver, had some big losses on defense, and they're still going to be number one. Why do you say that? Well, because they're Georgia. It's kind of like with Alabama. And to further it, LSU has won some grace. I can look at LSU and on the surface, I can't think of any reason other than a soft schedule to think that they're going to be close to as good as they were last year. They weren't good on defense last year. And why are they going to be better? But they compensated by being great on offense. Well, you're going to take the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback and 2 first-round draft choice receivers off that team and off that offense. Tell me you're going to be as explosive? I'm going to say I don't necessarily believe that. But LSU has a track record.
100%. And so does Brian Kelly.
Right.
Brian Kelly, since, is it 2016, has won 9 or 10 games every year. So he's got a track record. They were 4-8 that year, if I remember correctly.
1 year they were terrible.
Right. But since that point, they've won 9 or double-digit games every year. LSU, similar type of program, right? Well, better program than Notre Dame at this point, but similar type of program that they continue to. So that would be my reason to be like, well, if you're an LSU fan, this is why. But then I'm more with you, like, but how? Doesn't mean that I won't change my mind after I see Garrett Nussmeier play for a little bit and I see what the defense looks like. But as of today, prove it to me.
I think just to sum it up, I would be in a similar situation. I would be more apt to believe LSU is going to continue success than Tennessee was.
Right.
Because anybody can have a good year.
Let's do a little buy, sell, lease.
All right, I'm ready to buy.
No, we're not ready yet.
Okay, when we are, I'll be ready.
Yeah. The coach, he's an Oklahoma fan, so he's got a horns backwards hat on his picture. So.
Okay, well.
Yeah, well, we can agree there.
Yeah,
we can agree.
We can always, find common ground with somebody.
And Jason, since you're a member of the media, I look forward to seeing you whenever A&M plays plays Oklahoma. Let's hit a break here. Brazos Running Company, located at Century Square. We love College Station, by the way. We love Century Square. They're Aggie owned and operated specialty running store with an outstanding selection of running gear there. You can get all the great brands that you want. You want Brooks, you want On, you want Hoka. You want them all? They got it there. New Balance, Nike, you name it. You can get the kind of brand that you want when you go to the Brazos Running Company. If you're a runner, a walker, interested in fitness at all, the Brazos Running Company is the place to help you find the right shoe for you. They're passionate about running. They're passionate about finding the right shoe for your fitness needs. And they have clothing there as well. Birkenstock. They got Viore that people love rocking around town. Is awesome stuff. Go by there. Father's Day is coming up soon, so make sure you stop by there and get your pops something nice there. It is Brazos Running Company, located at Century Square, below the Star Cinema Grill in College Station. It's what we call a banger.
Banger.
It's a banger.
Check yes or no.
I'm checking yes.
For banger.
For Kyle Field in College Station.
College Station.
And
they got a big George Strait concert coming up in Kyle Field.
Yes, they do.
And a big soccer match.
Yeah. Do you remember the teams?
Yeah, Brazil and Mexico.
There you go. You're gonna be all over that,
Football.
buddy. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. I'm checking yes on this news that I read this morning. Netflix announces Happy Gilmore 2, the sequel.
Huh. It's Happier Gilmore, I guess.
So, which brought me to buy, sell, lease.
Yeah,
we're going to do some
so.
Adam Sandler movies.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Are you familiar with these movies, Carson?
I'm familiar with just about every Adam Sandler movie.
All right, so you can play the game with us.
Okay.
All right. Cade, you familiar? Yes or no?
Yes, familiar.
Okay,
yes.
well, I lost interest in your tone right there. I don't think you're going to play. You sound like Nick right now. All right, here are the three options. Happy Gilmore.
Uh-huh.
I said it like the Gilmore Girls.
Sound like Gilmer and East
Happy
Texas.
Gilmore. Well done. Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison, The Waterboy. Those are your three options. What are you buying? What are you selling? What are you leasing?
Mama says take Waterboy. Buy the Waterboy. So I'm going to buy the Waterboy.
You're buying the Waterboy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will lease. I will lease. What were the other two? Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison.
I don't know that I've ever seen either one of those. Not all the way through.
Really?
Which the one where he punches Bob Barker?
That's Happy Gilmore.
So I'll lease Happy Gilmore and then I'll have to sell the other one.
Happy Gilmore's great. It's a fantastic movie. It was on
I've seen
My Dear Friend Carl Weathers, Apollo Creed, Dear Friend.
The late great.
The late great Apollo Creed. He was in there.
Okay. So which ones are you buying, selling, leasing?
Oh, I am buying Happy Gilmore. God, what do I keep saying Gilmore? Happy Gilmore.
Gilmore, Texas.
I am
Gilmore Buckeyes.
Leasing the Waterboy, and I'm selling Billy Madison, which is I think the one that made him like a cult icon. Like I think, of those three, that's how I go.
Well, I'm a football guy, you know.
Yeah, you are.
You know, so
you are.
But you know what's the best Adam Sandler movie I ever saw? And it's not a comedy.
The NBA movie.
I like that one, but it's something about
the Jewels.
Yeah, the jeweler guy. Yeah. Man, that was a very disturbing.
I don't think I saw that
but
one.
But it was good, and what's the name of that movie?
Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems.
I didn't realize we had Adam Sandler.
Should be brought to you by David Gardner's Jewelers. Right. It is such an emotional movie that you're tired. You're fatigued at the end of it.
All right, Mr. Stein, what is yours?
So Happy Gilmore was watched in my house religiously growing up, so I'm going to have to buy Happy Gilmore.
I like the way you roll. I know what you're leasing. I know. Come on, just say it. It's Waterboy. Just do it.
Probably lease Waterboy. It's close between Waterboy and Billy Madison, but lease Waterboy, sell Billy Madison.
There's not a right answer because they're all three.
No, there's a wrong answer.
What's the wrong answer?
The wrong answer is anytime you're not buying the Waterboy.
Okay. Let's see what Kate has to say. Kate?
I'm definitely buying Happy Gilmore.
Oh no! You suck again.
That was good.
I'd lease the Waterboy, and I'd sell Billy Madison. I think the Waterboy is close to Happy Gilmore for me, but I think Happy Gilmore is just a little bit more of a classic.
Stay off crack.
I think the folks that I hired are all smart. I can tell.
Oh no! Your interns suck again.
Only you can do that. Can we make that a hotkey? OB, thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
I'm out.
Thanks, Hall of Fame coach, podcast dude. All right, we're going to hit a break here. When we come back, Jim Schlossnagle. We'll talk to Schloss about hopefully a game later on today and, of course, the series against Arkansas. We'll get to your text messages. It is TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Welcome back in. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Richard Zane's with us, who's done a great job with Coaches Nights in the Metroplex, covering baseball. What's up, buddy? How are you?
What's up? I'm good. Coaches Nights continue next week, too. So
That's right.
Austin on Monday, the Capital City A&M Club, because they don't go by the Austin A&M Club, and then Houston next Thursday.
Awesome.
So Mike Elko, all over the state of Texas.
So is Jim Schlossnagle. Let's go straight to the hotline, joined by the head coach of Texas A&M baseball, Schloss. I'm going to start you off. First off, good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Good morning, guys.
So softball to start off, just excitement level. We got a top program, 2 top programs going at it here at Bluebell. Just your thoughts as we get closer to the postseason with this big series coming up.
You asked me about softball? Yeah, super excited for them. I haven't coached it. I've only coached a few places that have softball, so it's awesome to have another diamond sport program. And I spent a lot of time out on the fundraising kind of coaches night type stuff we had in the fall with Coach Ford. And I mean, she's tough, man. She might be no disrespect to Coach Elko or Buzz or Tony, but Joni and Trish may be the 2 toughest coaches on this in this department.
From a softball question to a different type of softball question, top 5 series this weekend, Texas A&M, Arkansas, 2 top programs, 2 top coaches, a lot of star power on the diamond as well. What's the anticipation like, the excitement level like inside your clubhouse and your office this morning?
Hello?
Hey, Schloss, you there?
Yeah, I lost you for a second. Yeah, 2 great programs. Obviously, they're more established than us in terms of the Coach Van Horn's been there 20+ years, and they've been just stacked in recruiting classes on top of recruiting classes, and great high school pitching. And then they're at the spot where we want to be, where you can just cherry pick the transfer portal as needed and kind of develop your own players. But just really, Arkansas is so impressive because they just play really good baseball, and even when they have injuries, they always seem to find a way. And of course, that always helps when you don't let the other team score with great pitching. So we're excited. I'm on my back porch here cleaning some things up. Got some family coming in, and beautiful day. I hate it. Maybe the storms will miss us, but I hate it that the weather could impact this thing because I do feel like, I know that the 12th man is an advantage, and I know it's going to be a great crowd. So I hope the weather and having to play a doubleheader, stuff like that, doesn't dampen that.
You mentioned the weather, Coach. What is the forecast telling you about tonight's series opener, and then how late, behind the scenes, how late is a decision allowed to be made regarding tonight, a doubleheader? And then you mentioned something yesterday during your press conference that I thought was interesting with Sunday being available. So what all goes into the decision from the league to potentially play that day as well?
Yes, Sunday is only available on this last weekend, and that would be a absolute. That would mean that there was no way to get the other. You still had one game to play, and you had to get it in. So, or I guess potentially 2, but that would mean like if we had rain all day today, tomorrow, Saturday. So, what's the forecast telling me? I mean, I'm just listening to what our game operations and people who are talking to local meteorologists are saying that rain's supposed to come in 2 or 3 o'clock. The earlier it comes in, the earlier it can get out. So maybe we can start a game at 7, 8, or 9 o'clock. Per the SEC rules, we're not allowed to start one past 10, and we can't resume a game after midnight. So we'll probably, unless the forecast really changes, the league likes to wait to the last possible minute. So we'll probably have to wait it out some unless they say, yeah, you got no shot. I think the biggest worry is once the rain gets through, is there still lightning to deal with? Because that obviously you got to sit around, and if you try to get started and you get another lightning strike, then you're in really trouble. So within reason, we'll wait as long as we can.
Talking to Jim Schlossnagle here on TexAgs Radio. Jim, let's talk Gavin Grohovac. How's he doing? How did he come out of the weekend?
He was pretty banged up on the weekend. he was fighting through it, but it's the same thing that he's kind of dealt with all year with it's actually his left shoulder. He's such a big and strong guy and violent and impacts the ball so much. So he's dealt with this, but he was able to get it addressed, and he's 100%. He's all good. It's behind us now for the foreseeable future, barring some sort of collision or something like that. But he's good. He's ready to go.
How about Teddy Burton? What's his status, and where's he at percentage-wise with returning to full health?
As far as I know, he's 100%. I walked out of the training room before I left the office yesterday and went down there and checked on everybody. And he said, "Coach, I'm ready to steal base." So, he's not Travis Chestnut, but he can definitely move on the bases. And I think that he should be fine. I think base running is going to play a huge role in this weekend. It plays a big role in every game, but it's really going to play a huge role, especially against Hagen Smith. You just to think that you're going to string 2 hits in an inning together. And I'm not sure we're going to have the wind blowing out. Weirdest year ever. We played with a north wind in South Carolina and a north wind at Ole Miss. And looks like there's at least going to be one day here with that. So, that's part of our game is to run into one every now and then. Of course, Hagen doesn't give up too many, but yeah, we're going to have to play very complete baseball, and Teddy will be a big part of that.
Let's talk about Hagen Smith. How do you all have success against such a quality pitcher, the best in the SEC?
I hope he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed, man. I mean, he's Paul Skeens from the left side, does it differently, but has the same, similar dominant numbers. And if people are coming to the game, wait till you see how big and strong this guy is. He's super physical, so he can stay in there for a long time. He holds runners. He fields his position. Early in the year, he would scatter the ball a little bit. He'd give you some opportunities with some walks. But he's throwing more strikes. And so he's a surefire first-round pick. And I think that, the only way to beat a great pitcher like that is everybody wants to talk about the offense. It's actually it's our pitching. We have to pitch with them and hope that maybe, late in the game, maybe against somebody else, although they have great relievers. They have a freshman that we tried really hard to get, named Gabe Gackle. He's as impressive of a freshman pitcher as you'll find in the country. So, we're going to be smothered up with that. But we'll compete, and hopefully Prager can, have a good night and keep us close, and we'll find a way to scrap a few runs.
Last year, after that Game 1 loss to Skeens and LSU, you said it was Mark Pryor, Steven Strasburg, and Paul Skeens, the 3 best you've seen. You just said Hagen Smith's Skeens from the left side. So is it fair to say that Jim Schlossnagle is putting Smith in that Mount Rushmore of college pitchers you've seen?
Let me see it in person first. Skeens is, no disrespect to Mark or Steven Strasburg. Skeens he's generational, more than generational pitcher. But Hagen's certainly right up there with him from what I've seen. And you just look at his numbers, right? Just look at his numbers, and they compare to anybody, especially in an era where, again, no disrespect to those other pitchers, but the players are different now. The players are older. There's more professional guys that should be in professional baseball that are in college baseball. So offense is way up. Homers are way up. Strike zone is much tighter because of TrackMan. And so what Skeens did last year and what Hagen is doing this year, that's next level stuff. I like to compare generations because they're all different, but this is the golden age of college baseball, and to be dominating. Just look at the ERAs across the rest of the country and the conference, and Arkansas is a full run better than everybody else in the best league in the country. So what they're doing, what Hagen's doing is special.
Well, let's talk about that staff overall beyond Hagen Smith. Their bullpen is deadly. Can you talk about the challenges of facing that entire pitching staff?
Yeah, there's just they're very well coached. They're left-handed. They're right-handed. There's power arms. There's multiple lefties. And they have a reliever named McIntyre that is kind of their Oshkenbeck in terms of, when the game's on the line, he's the most experienced guy. He's got a couple really good breaking balls. So they do, they manage a pitching staff. The way I like to manage a pitching staff is that they really change the look. You can't get comfortable and settled in on one guy. So they've had, they're starting pitching after Smith hasn't had, the best couple of weeks, kind of like ours. So they're shuffling that up a little bit. I'm sure Coach Van Horn is just getting his team ready for the conference tournament as well. So there may be some opportunities in there, but I mean, they're human too. And Mississippi State scored some runs on them last week. I think our offense can play with anybody. So we just got to play the game. I mean, that's why you play the games is to figure it out. So we're excited and ready to get going. And we really need to hope everybody can, if we don't play tonight, get out of work or do whatever they can to pack the ballpark, because I can tell you, if we were going to Arkansas and one of the night games got rained out, we had to play a day game doubleheader during the week, I would be excited about that, because there's no question that it lessens the crowd a little bit. So the 12th man always steps up, and we're going to really need him to step up this weekend.
From their pitching staff to your pitching staff, we all know how good Ryan Prager has been this entire year, especially at home. But then you've already announced that Shane Sadeo is going to be the Game 3 starter, the reigning SEC co-pitcher of the week. What does he provide you in the rotation as opposed to the bullpen? And then with Game 2 going TBA, what do you expect to factor into making that decision for a starting pitcher in Game 2?
Shane provides strikes and competitiveness, multiple pitches for strikes. Fastball's playing up better now than it ever has. The off-speed pitches are solid, but he's a strike thrower. And Arkansas, they have power, but they're a very disciplined offensive team. And I think they have one guy with like 20 more walks than strikeouts. And they're really tough to pitch to. And they play sound baseball. That they'll bunt when the situation calls for it, and you better be able to field your position. And then what do we do in the middle game? It just remains to be seen. A lot of that would have to do with weather and who, if we play tonight, and that allows you maybe to bring somebody back in the second or third game out of the bullpen. Just need to see Arkansas play with my own eyes and go from there. But we have multiple guys ready to pitch. We didn't throw that many guys last weekend, really, and so we'll be ready to go. We'll probably just have to mix and match it throughout the course of the game.
Schloss, ideally, you want to be playing your best baseball of the season in the postseason, right? But how much does how you're playing at the end, this series moving on, matter into postseason success?
No, I mean, of course it matters. It matters. I mean, you want to. We haven't played great. We haven't played horrible, but we haven't played great the last 2 weekends. The other teams have played really well. We haven't. It's mainly offensively. We've been out of the strike zone and just been out of character in many ways. And the players are aware of that. We had a good practice yesterday. We had a good meeting with the hitters yesterday. So we'll see how that goes moving forward. But like I said yesterday on one of the interviews, every team has a story, and I believe in this team. I believe in. Obviously, we know what we're playing for, whether it be, a top 4 finish in the league or seeding, stuff like that. We know what all that means. But I can tell you this: if you're another school and you had Texas A&M coming to your regional, that's something you're going to have to be concerned with. So. Hopefully we'll get to play at home in the postseason, at least one round, hopefully 2. But if we earn the right, but we have to play well, right? So yeah. Do I want to win this weekend? Of course. Do I want to win next week? Yeah, we're playing for a championship next week, and we want to win any championship we're playing for. But at the end of the day, we can't do anything to jeopardize. I think we've earned the right to at least be in a postseason in the NCAA tournament. And so we just have to be ready to go then, because frankly, that's why we play all these games, to put yourself in a regional. The only way to get to Omaha is to be in a regional. And so ideally we'd like to have some momentum going in. But the most important thing is that we're healthy and ready to go, the first weekend in June.
Schloss, thanks for your time. Hope to get a game in tonight, and we'll see you this weekend.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Gig 'em.
Gig 'em. Jim Schlossnagle there on the Schlossnagle there. Always makes time for us, so appreciate his time. All right. I know we're going to go in a second, but you didn't appreciate the fact that we didn't get to talk Adam Sandler when you weren't in studio. That's
Dude,
part of your community. The funny people.
Adam Sandler, yeah. Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
a lot of people that sit at this specific chair on certain days of the week would tell you that I'm not very funny. That list is actually pretty lengthy, not just Mr. Lucci. One sitting out there, the other one's talking to him. Kay Nagley's back there. I'm sure they'd all tell you that I'm not very funny. But yeah, man,
which would you buy sell
Adam
lease?
Sandler's one of our best. One of our best.
One of the best funny people?
Yeah. Best funny people.
Yeah.
I think you're funny, Richard.
That was so creepy.
That was kind of funny.
It was
creepy, but it was funny.
It's
well
funny
done, Nick.
Because it's out of character.
That's me and Nick is starting to come out of his shell a little bit more, and I absolutely love it. A lot of BAMs in the back, Nick, my guy.
Yeah.
There it is.
And he's the nicest person in the building at times. Well, yeah, he's in the mix for nicest person in the building, but does have a fuse. He hates when I say that out loud, but he does have a fuse.
Oh, I wouldn't want to mess with him at all.
I would enjoy it.
I wouldn't want to because,
So
look at me.
What is your buy-sell lease?
What were the
Happy
options?
Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore.
Why do I say Gilmore?
I like that one a lot, except, being a diehard Detroit Red Wing fan, I hate the fact that he wears the Boston Bruins sweater, but I get it. It was always wild to me as a kid to go watch, when you became old enough to go back and watch Happy Gilmore to see the mom from Modern Family in that movie. That's a great movie.
You have Billy Madison and you have the Water Boy.
Ooh. I like Big Daddy a lot. Big Daddy's a really good one. Jamie Murray would quote that a lot.
Yeah.
With the Sprouse twins. Buy, sell, lease, though. I would have to buy Happy Gilmore, lease Waterboy, and cut Billy Madison.
You did it right.
That's correct.
I think that and to be honest, Olin brought up Uncut Gems earlier. Sandman should have gotten at least an Oscar nom for that movie.
I haven't seen it yet.
He was fantastic.
Don't tell me too much.
I won't tell you anything about it. It is a really good movie. It's actually worth the time.
Okay. And there's some NBA players.
Yeah,
in that movie,
Kevin
right?
Garnett's in that movie for at least Kevin Garnett.
Any rappers?
I'd have
I feel
to.
like there's some people that you would.
The Weeknd.
The Weeknd's in the movie.
Okay,
yeah. And I believe Mr. Kanye West, now ex-girlfriend Julia Fox, was in that movie. Kanye West, not a fan of my community.
So he likes funny people.
Yeah, well, Jonah Hill. He's a huge Jonah Hill fan.
Yeah. All right, let's hit a break here. Thank you, Richard. When we come back, we're going to do some SEC storylines. Carson's got that. Right now, though, Schulte Roofing, an award-winning roofing company that provides industrial, commercial, residential services to Belleville, Brenham, Bryan, College Station, Conroe, Montgomery, Navasota, San Antonio, the Woodlands, and, of course, those surrounding counties. Schulte Roofing is the home of the Bulletproof Roof Guarantee, the industry's absolute best roofing system, roof installation warranty, and 100% satisfaction guarantee or your money back. Again, that is home of the Bulletproof Roof Guarantee. Since their humble beginnings in 1994, they've been led by committing to excellence. They are a top 100 roofing company out there, and they just want to make sure that they take care of you. Everybody I know in this community that's had roofing needs, that's who they call Schulte Roofing. The phone number is easy, 1-800-4ROOF. 1-800-4ROOF. Go to SchulteRoofing.com. That's SchulteRoofing.com, home of the Bulletproof Roof Guarantee. All right, it's TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Here's what we got coming up for the rest of the show. By the way, Schloss rocked it as well. I see that, Chris. Thank you very much for the YouTube comment. If you guys are watching on YouTube, give us a like on there, subscribe to the channel so we can keep growing it, so we can go viral, and some of our videos, when we have outlandish takes, can become talking points for other radio shows. Although we don't have outlandish takes, we actually back them by science. I don't know. Just felt like saying that. Anyway, just like the YouTube page. Follow us on all of our social media channels. We'd appreciate that. And, go be a subscriber at TexAgs.com. So coming up on the program, we're going to talk to Connor O'Gara, Saturday Down South, my buddy. He's great. I love talking to Connor. And I'll tell him this when he's on the show. One of the things I appreciate about Connor, he has hot sports takes, but he's one of those that backs it up. And sometimes I don't agree with him. And sometimes he's right. He was right. He was one of the first ones on the Jimbo offense thing. I'm talking like before I saw it happening. So I'll give him props here. AT will join us at 10 a.m. and then Kendall Rogers at 10:35. So that is the rest of the program here on TexAgs Radio. Let's find out some SEC storylines. We go to the news, Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Carson Stein is there. Carson, what do you got?
Okay, so what I got to start off, Auburn, LSU, Tennessee, Vandy, and A&M all advanced to the men's national championship in golf. The ESPN announces the slate of SEC games on ABC.
Give me a little more information on A&M golf. Let's talk about it. Do you have some of the notes on there for it?
I do.
Give me some more. I want to hear more about the Fighting Cortons.
Okay, so the men's golf team got third place in the Stanford Regional, shooting 19 under.
Okay.
With Michon finishing tied second and 11 under, and Daniel Rodriguez finishing tied 10th at 5 under.
Awesome. I kind of expected it. So we've got women's golf moving on, men's golf moving on, obviously tennis having some success. This is good times for us. All right. What's your next one?
The ESPN, they announced the slate of SEC games on ABC, starting with South Carolina at Kentucky on September 7th. Whole lot of bland games, but A&M at Florida to start off SEC play at 2:30 in the Swamp.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one. I'll be at that game in the Swamp. I'm going to go to a couple games this year. I'm not going to all of them, and that's the one I wanted to make sure I go to because it's the first Mike Elko road game, right? And it's first Mike Elko road SEC game. Hello? We got to stop the losing streak on the road. 2:30 game. It's going to be hot. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a great environment. It's a really important. It's really important to the success of the season because depending on what you think of the Notre Dame game, right? First game for Mike Elko as a coach, right? You got to have success there, obviously, but that's going to be a tough one to win for obvious reasons. You should go to Gainesville. I know it's a road game in the SEC. I know you haven't won in years. You should go to Gainesville and win that game. That is a program that I think if you step on their throats, you can make them really believe all the offseason hype that Billy Napier is going to lose the job. Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that if he doesn't get it right in September, I don't know how much in October he gets to coach. You got to go there, shut them up, get a victory, end that losing streak on the road, and start showing that A&M is back to being that team that we think can be a playoff contender year in and year out. All right, what else?
Relatively similar to this, Georgia goes to Alabama September 28th at 6:30 p.m. to start off the Kalen DeBoer era in Alabama.
What date is that again?
September 28th.
That's okay. That's not their first SEC game though. That's just their first.
No, that's just one of the first big primetime games they got.
Yeah, interesting. I think they're going to be pretty good. I think they're going to be pretty good this year. I do. I mean, the thing is, they lost the Tyson stigma, right? Like they're going to have to regain that. I think they're going to be a really good program with Kalen DeBoer. But there was the Nick Saban factor, right? Every year, like, he'll figure it out. Like, he figured it out last year with Jalen Milroe, all right? We're going to tailor our offense to what he does well. We're going to figure this out and get to the playoffs on a year that was supposed to be our down year. The stigma of being the Mike Tyson, the baddest guy in the room, that's no longer there, although they're one of the baddest guys in the room still. He's going to have to prove that he can keep Alabama at that level. Carson?
To round out the ABC games on the SEC, Florida versus Georgia at Jacksonville, the neutral site game.
Yeah, don't care. Don't care about that. I mean, I'll care when it gets closer, but what I care about Florida is them, losing their SEC home opener to Texas A&M on that 2:30 ABC start. Any other SEC storylines you want to hit?
Just one I wanted to hit. I know we're trying to avoid Florida a little bit, but Last night, Florida landed former 5-star number one ranked corner Cormani McClain as a preferred walk-on.
As a preferred walk-on.
Apparently, their scholarship of 85 is full, and so they don't know if they're going to be able to make room for him. So
NIL. Got it really quiet in here. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. All right, I want to read this one from Coach Elko last night at the Dallas A&M Club, because we were going to talk about it with OB, but the showing off the rails. But I do want to read this because, to me, this is really important. One of the areas that Coach Elko wants to fix, and he says it right here, one of the areas that we have to really improve is our overall player development. If you look at the number of draft picks that we've had from our program recently, it's not up to par with our competition. And nothing could be further from the truth, because they've beyond the 22 class, guys, right? Let's talk about the amount of talent that we thought came in the building and where they ended up when they left, right? Like Calzada, Haynes King, you can go down the list of all these guys that came in during the Jimbo era that we expected to be studs. And some of them were absolutely studs. I love Devon Achane, obviously. Anias, obviously. But some of the guys did not get the kind of draft consideration I would have expected of them, and multiple guys, by the way, during that era. And that has got to be, you've got to develop your players. Just because they have a 5-star by their name or a 4-star by their name when they get to campus, does that mean that they leave that way? Because you want them leaving first, second, third round picks. That's what you want them to leave, right? And you want, once those guys are gone, you replenish with the next 4- and 5-star guy. That's got to be the goal. But the 4- or 5-star guy that develops, the Devon Achane that walks in the door is a better product when he leaves. That happened with him, right? But there are other positions, offensive line especially, that they came in with certain expectations and they leave with not the same value that you expected to get from them. So that is absolutely one of the big ones that I want to see from Coach Elko and company. Look, there's a lot of the on-the-field stuff that we have to see, but player development. And that player development, to me, starts, right, in the weight room, starts with the focus. And there's another line that we'll get to a little bit later on the show about the weight room. I want to get into that and what it means to the future and why I think people are buying into Coach Elko's philosophy here. All right, let's hit a break. When we come back, Connor O'Gara on the program. We'll talk to Connor about some A&M thoughts he's written about over the last couple of weeks, get his thoughts on all that. Right now, Heritage Films. They make documentary films. I know many of you listen to the show all the time and know that. Like, yeah, I get it. But I want to speak to you right now and consider, like, we're not promised tomorrow, folks, right? You want to, there are stories that your parents have told you that you've left for your kids, that it goes in one ear, out the other. They love the story, but they don't really know the story, right? And then when it becomes their turn to tell the family story, they get some of the details wrong. Yeah, my dad went to this school. No, I went to this school. Oh, my dad met my mom in 1964. No, I met her actually in 1958. Whatever the story may be, you should have the right story done by the person that the story is about, right? So we got to do a documentary of my father back a couple years ago, and 2-hour documentary, awesome. And he is 93. Hopefully he makes the 94, right? He's on his way. He had hip replacement surgery. It sucked, right, a couple months ago. But he's back to being the dad that I love. He's always been the dad that I love. But he's back to being the guy that's moving around, doing great things at his age. But he's not promised tomorrow. You're not promised tomorrow. And that's why we jumped on the Heritage Film, to have that story for the next generation, for my kids and their kids after that. The website is yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com. You can also do a Yearflix, which is a 20-minute Q&A video for your kids with the green screen in the background, the great storytelling, and just getting to know, a benchmark video for your kids. You can do one for as they're entering high school, then when they get their driver's license, then when they graduate from high school, when they get to Texas A&M, you get this 4-part series, 5-part series, and it's just going to be a cool thing that you look back on, like a Facebook memory on steroids, and steroids in a good way. The website, again, yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. We're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the hotline. Connor O'Gara, Saturday Down South, joining us. And Connor, I don't think you were on the Zoom yet, but I paid you a compliment because, and I've told you this before, one of the things I appreciate about you is sometimes we may disagree on a take. You always do a great job of explaining, and sometimes maybe like, you know what, he's got a point there. And I think there's too many people in our business. We did a whole segment earlier that just say things to say things. And I always appreciate you provide depth and perception, or perspective, excuse me.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah, look, I try and be the guy that tells it like it is, because even though I'm wearing a shirt that has an SEC emblem on it, I went to a Big Ten school. I went to Indiana. I try and come to this without necessarily any narratives or biases. And, hopefully that allows me to view things with a different perspective than some might. But, I realize that at times it might come off a certain way. And I try and at least present that. That's the best compliment I can get from someone is, hey, you at least made me think a little bit more. I think our guy, Matt Hayes, does a really good job of that. I know that he's frustrated some in Aggie land at times, but he opens my eyes up to new perspectives as well. So yeah, I try and just bring something a little bit, hopefully unbiased to the table.
Now, you were one of the first to me that presented, and I know it was out there, but that presented a real case for Jimbo's offense being archaic before it became a popular sports take. And I remember when it was, because I had just started the job here in July of 21, and you were telling me that after the Orange Bowl run, right? When we were all sky high, you're like, look at some of the things we're seeing here. And, you were right. You were right on that one.
Yeah, look, and it's not necessarily a victory lap that I like to take, because I actually was the person right after the Orange Bowl saying hey, look, A&M is coming on strong, but it does make you kind of wonder, all right, well, how much of that was the offensive line continuity? How much of that was because you had these atypical circumstances in that year? And what does it look like in a post-Kellen Mond world? A guy that I think A&M fans might have even more appreciation for because of his durability after the last 3 years that have been at the quarterback position. But it was just more so, I remember going into that season being very high on Haynes King and thinking to myself, all right, well, there's still a lot to like, in my opinion, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he's about to start putting up these crazy numbers offensively. Let's see if Jimbo can start implementing more tempo and being able to have one of these high-powered attacks wherein receivers are, getting developed and going in the first and second round. And that, to me, was what was still kind of lacking with that team, even coming off the Orange Bowl.
Talking to Connor O'Gara here on TexAgs Radio. So you recently wrote about game day and A&M getting that stage, that national stage. Just some thoughts about the opportunity for Coach Elko to tell the world, hey, A&M is back, at least to being in the conversation of big things in the SEC.
It is a narrative-driven sport, for better or worse at times. And in a sport within an 8-month offseason, it's so unique how the opening weekend of college football season, more than any other sport, is the ultimate confirmation bias or the ultimate, what have we been doing for the last 8 months talking about a specific team? There are things that just go out the window so quickly because of one afternoon, one evening of football on that opening weekend. And A&M has a chance to be able to move on from being the punching bag of this $76 million footnote and this Jimbo Fisher buyout that was the topic of conversation for a while. And I think there were some on the outside who looked at that Elko hire and said, they moved mountains to be able to fire Jimbo Fisher just to hire one of his former assistants. Well, it's about just getting the right person for the job, in my opinion. And if Mike Elko, even in a game that, look, even if they don't win as of right now, I think it's a pick 'em. That's what Vegas has that line set at. Even if they don't win that game against Notre Dame, it still is a chance for College Station to host College Game Day for the first time in 6 years since that Clemson game that nearly went into overtime. People forget that. And it was kind of, in a way, a coming out party for Jimbo Fisher, even in a loss. And I think that Elko has the opportunity to do that against the Notre Dame team that's going to come in preseason top 10. I mean, some people are saying they're worthy of being top 5. And to be able to come out and get a big-time win like that in College Station, I just think that that's such an ideal thing for a first-year coach with the risk baked in, obviously, of maybe his team isn't quite where he wants it just yet. But I do think that that's an opportunity that you're willing to take on. So
earlier you said you were high on Haynes King. I know you're bullish on Connor Wigman. Why are you so bullish on him?
I just think the sample size is been really promising when he's been healthy. I think that you look at the numbers that he's had, facing pressure, facing the blitz, and like go back and watch that Miami game. If you are not a believer in Connor Wigman, go back and look at all the different pressure that he faced and how like seemingly every time he's on the field, it's like, all right, well, the A&M secondary just got gashed and he's got to go put up a scoring drive or else, you know, he's going to fall behind even more. The interceptions in that game are the only interceptions he's thrown as a starter, where, you know, you have an Anaya Smith drop and then it's a play late where, you know, he's just trying to make something happen on 4th down in a 2-score game. So I love what I've seen so far from Wigman, the mobility that we saw flashes of as well. You know, you can't just turn around and play man defense on him on 3rd down and expect to be able to lock down and get off the field if you're a defense. So I like the things that he brings to the table for Colin Klein in this offense. I think they're going to run a unit that is similar to what he ran in high school as well, which made him a decorated 5-star recruit. And I'm just more of a believer that if he can stay right and stay healthy, you can kind of overcome the questions that you might have up front on that offensive line.
So if he can stay upright, stay healthy, and that means obviously the offensive line comes together, which has been a big question the last few years. And Jimbo's best years, the offensive line was great. This is a new era. If that happens, you think they can potentially be in the playoff conversation in November?
I'm not willing to get there yet. I think A&M, I know I took some heat for this. There are people that didn't like that I set the ceiling at 8-4, but the problem is that it's still 10 consecutive road losses. Until that comes to an end, it's hard for me to sit here and go, yeah, 9-3. And I realize 4 biggest games of the season are at home. That's huge working in A&M's favor. What is it, like 3 of the 4 road games that A&M has are against teams that didn't play in a bowl game last year? That bodes well. The streak should come to an end this year. I fully believe that that'll be the case. You still need to be able to see it. It's still a team that's got some of those questions. It's got those questions on the back end. What's it going to look like in the secondary? Do they have that alpha dog #1 receiver without Evan Stewart, with him off to Oregon? What's it going to look like? Can Noah Thomas stay healthy? Can this backfield have that featured back? Something that they've kind of lacked a little bit recently. And this offensive line is the biggest question mark for me. So while I do like some of the pieces that are coming back and what could be, you know, that defensive line, obviously, you know, with Shamar Stewart and with Nick Scorton, a guy that I'm just shouting from the mountaintops about, I do think that there are some strengths there that suggest, hey, they could be in that hunt. And if you win that game against Notre Dame, you get to be part of that conversation in the 12-team playoff era. But I still set that ceiling more so at 8-4 and say, let me see those questions, and then we can have those conversations. You know, maybe if the record dictates it, kind of late October.
So what is success in your eyes for A&M, considering that you think their ceiling is 8-4? Would you say 8-4 is a successful year, or do they have to break through?
No, it depends on it depends so much on A&M starting to beat the teams that people don't think that A&M can beat. To me, that's the biggest thing. Are you competitive in these games, or are teams coming into College Station and blowing the doors off the Aggies? Like, what is a preseason national title contender, Texas? I shouldn't say that too loudly, but what does that look like in that regular season finale? A game that everybody's going to be looking forward to so much. And I think Texas checks so many boxes this year coming in. And what do you look like down the stretch? Is your depth able to hold up? Are you able to look like a team that belongs in the trenches with a group like that might have one of the best offensive lines in all of college football? That's a great strength on strength matchup. How do you answer these questions in games like that? To me, there's a lot of room for interpretation if A&M goes 7-5 and then gets to 8-5 with a bowl victory or something like that. There are probably more positives than negatives in a season like that. To me, that would be a sign that things are going in the right direction. But I don't like to judge year one coaches too much. I really don't, because I think so much of it depends on the situation that you inherit. And while people might have dismissed A&M in the situation that they inherited because of all of the exports of losing, guys from that 22 class and how well documented that was, I do think that they return a lot more than people realize. But yeah, to me, there's a lot of room for interpretation. I would say that 7-5 mark and then getting to an 8th win in the bowl victory, I'd say that that's a really, really good sign for year one from Mike Elko.
Connor, it's interesting. A lot of times when I have analysts on this show, it's so hard to break down teams in this world of college football because the unknowns are the roster. There's so much turnover, and that's why I think brand matters. That's why you know what you're going to get with certain coaches. Do you feel the same way, though? Like, it's hard to make a prediction in May based on all the turnover.
Yeah, it's really difficult. That's why I do my my SEC Crystal Ball series wherein I predict every game that an SEC team is going to play. I do that every August. And if I tried to do it right now, where I know some people like to do that, I'd be sitting there going, man, I have no idea. Like we have some of these guys that haven't even gotten on campus yet with their new teams. Like what's that going to look like? I don't know. And I'm not necessarily one that's going to base like 1 week of fall camp on a prediction like that. But still, yeah, the turnover, it's unbelievable. And I was looking at Bill Connolly's percentage of returning production rankings, which when they came out in February, this shows you everything you need to know about the turnover in the sport and how fluid these rosters are throughout the offseason. I think A&M was at like 18th in that, and they were number 1 in the SEC in percentage of returning production. And then in Bill Connolly's updated rankings of that, A&M dropped to like 38th and overall, and I think they were like 7th or 8th in the SEC. Like that's how quickly these things can kind of change depending on what those moves look like. So you're right, man. For those in our business who like to do these predictions, it is awfully difficult to try and pin down what a team is going to look like in a given season. Sometimes we don't even know that until early to mid-October to feel like we have a good gauge of who a team's going to be.
Connor, I'm trying to see how I feel about Riley Leonard coming into this opening game against Notre Dame. And before the show, I kind of looked at the past quarterbacks. Where does Riley Leonard rank here in the last few years of Notre Dame quarterbacks with Sam Hartman, Tyler Buckner, Drew Pine? A couple of the guys, like, is he under Hartman? Is he, like, where do you put him?
He's in the Ian Book range, maybe. I want to see what it looks like when he's healthy for a full year. It was such a bummer that he got hurt last year when he did. I mean, you talk about how quickly things changed for Mike Elko in that Notre Dame game, wherein he brings College Game Day to Duke for the very first time, and they have a lead late, and then Notre Dame has that go-ahead score. Audric Estime had that go-ahead touchdown run, and then Leonard gets hurt on that last-minute drive, and it kind of, put a damper on their season, their promising season. He couldn't finish the end of that Florida State game as well. He's a really good player. We did a draft of the top 10 quarterbacks in college football coming into this season, and he didn't make the cut for that. But Irish fans are really optimistic that he's going to be just as good as Sam Hartman was. Now, Sam Hartman had a little bit of a different fit from a scheme standpoint, just because of how unique that scheme was at Wake Forest. And so I think there was a little bit of, touch and go for him going to Notre Dame. But I do think there's optimism that he can be one of the better quarterbacks in the country. If he finishes as one of like the 10 or 15 best quarterbacks, I don't think it's going to be a stunner. He's somebody that you have to account for. But you have the guy that's been going up against him in practice each of the last 2 years. So you would think that that's a nice little advantage for A&M.
Do you think Marcus Freeman's got to make the playoffs this year? You think, or to be fine, or does it kind of go back to what you were saying earlier? Let's see how the season plays out and the whys.
Yeah, I think he's good. I don't think he's going to be on any sort of hot seat. I think he's elevated the recruiting there significantly. And I think they like a lot of the things that he's about and that he's brought to the program. They're about stability, like more so than people probably realize. Notre Dame isn't competing for national championships. They are competing for yearly relevance. They want people to look at that Notre Dame brand and still see it as one of the best in college football, which, as long as you're winning 10 games, that's kind of the MO. So I think that's more so the expectation, at least among, the logical. But I do think that there will be conversations about all coaches who are kind of knocking on the door, but not making that 12-team playoff. It's going to sting so much more. If you're a program like Clemson, where Clemson has been outside of the top 10 each of the last 3 seasons with Dabo Swinney, he's talking about how the transfer portal, high school players technically are transfers. Like if you're that person and you're on the outside of that conversation, it's going to be so much worse in the 12-team playoff era. So maybe it will start to sting if Notre Dame isn't making, those playoff runs. But yeah, I think he's good for now. I think he's got, a pretty considerable leash with the things that he's done so far.
Connor, last thing for you. A year from now, we'll probably be looking at a different college athletics model. And, with the house stuff going on right now, do you like the direction it could be going, considering the Wild Wild West that we've seen the last couple of years?
It depends on the way that things shake out. But what I've been saying from the jump is, look, the revenue sharing model makes the most sense if you can figure out a way to do it. I mean, when we were talking about athletes getting paid in the early 2010s, there were people like myself who would say, well, they get scholarships, and it would only be the top 1%. It would be the Johnny Manziels of the world. Those would be the only guys who are really benefiting from this. What's the point? And then things have changed because the TV contracts have changed. And if things have changed for people like myself, where now we've done the 180 of, yeah, these student athletes need to be getting a piece of the pie because of how crazy this money is. Doesn't it make sense to have the revenue sharing model? Doesn't it make sense to say, let's let that fund it instead of private equity and have these, boosters and collectives that are responsible for an entire payroll for a college football team? I do think that it's changing. I think that there are definitely going to be some benefits. There's still a lot of things it seems like to figure out with some of these lawsuits and settling on what all that's going to look like, but we're heading there. I mean, we're very much heading there. It feels like we will be at that place in the latter half of the decade.
Connor, great stuff, man. Thanks so much. We'll see you in Dallas. We'll probably talk to you before Dallas, but we'll see you definitely at SEC Media Days.
Awesome. Appreciate it, man.
Later, man. Connor O'Gara there. All right, we'll hit a break here. We'll do a short segment before we hit the top of the hour. It's TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, Little John for you. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Carson Stein's got an update on something about to be happening. And that's terrible grammar. Something that is going to be popping off soon, Carson. Your mic's not on, though. That's unfortunate.
Sorry about that.
Yeah,
so just
put them on the counter. Count it.
Just to update, EA College Football 25, the official cover will be released in 5 minutes.
The cover will be released, but it's kind of leaked, right? Or there's rumors of
There's
the leakage?
been rumors of a leak, but nothing's been official.
Rumors of a leak. That doesn't sound good. All right, we'll do this. Hour number 3, Aaron Torres. He's coming up. We'll talk to AT. We'll talk to Kendall Rogers. We got some other Elko things to get into. We'll get to your text messages. I see them. Some of you talking about Connor's thing. But before we go to a break, Ground Shuttle offers frequent and reliable shuttles from Bryan College Station to George Bush Intercontinental Airport. You can travel in style. You don't have to worry about the parking when you go to Bush Airport, right? Like, that's one of our headaches. When we travel as a staff here to go to these SEC road trips and we go to Bush, sometimes all the parking lots are closed. Construction makes it difficult, and we're spending an arm and a leg to park there. Why not just go with Ground Shuttle? They'll take you right there. Boom, you get in and out. It's reliable. It's great. That I can guarantee you. They can book any vehicle to their fleet to accommodate some of your charter services out there anywhere in Texas. Local company. They don't book anything that they cannot guarantee. It's very easy to book your shuttle online at groundshuttle.com. You can call them up, 855-303-4415. Ground Shuttle. Let them do the driving. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, Aaron Torres, he'll break it down, all things happening in his world, and of course, college football is TexAgs. Welcome back to TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's talk to our friend Aaron Torres here on the hotline. I'm sure he's on some great highway, but before we do that, let's let the people know that this is Around College Athletics, brought to you by Milliken Reserve, a College Station community, featuring homes, trails, farms, wide open spaces, with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. Take part in the Milliken Reserve community with a Conservancy membership. Learn more, millikenreserve.com. We go to the hotline, and there he is, AT. AT, what up?
Not much, man. How you doing?
I'm good, buddy. I'm doing really well. What's going on in your world?
Good. Not much, man. Not much. I actually am going on vacation 2 weeks from today. I confirmed with the old Mrs. T. So 2 Thursdays from now, you can call me if you want. I won't be picking up. Other than that, I'm good. I also saw A&M is hosting College Game Day, so that's cool. Like, I don't know, David. You tell me. I mean, I know you talk football 365, but it feels like we're slowly starting to climb that mountain where there's just a little bit of football to talk about. And I'm excited. I really am.
Aaron, it's like you listened to our first segment on the show. Yes, college football is becoming more prominent in the discussion. It's always prominent on the show. But like now where I feel like people are getting angry, people are having outlandish takes. People are just saying stuff. Like it's that time of year where, I go on the offensive or the defensive. I've noticed that, though. Like people are like now having hot sports takes, and they have, they're making these comments. And that just means that we're so much closer to SEC Media Days, which obviously means we're a week or two away from starting training camp and what's it called? Fall camp, I should say. And then we got the games.
Yeah, and I talked a little bit about kind of, again, it's almost like the NFL last night. Like, we knew the week 1 schedule, but we obviously got dates and times. And, like, I kind of threw out some hot takes on my show today. Nothing outlandish, but a couple things, and I'll throw them off of you. I think, obviously, look, week 1, we know A&M's hosting Notre Dame, but my week 1 it's really 2 week 1 hot takes involving those games, neither of which involve A&M. The first one does involve A&M's week 3 opponent, though. I know it's May. I know David Nuño is anti-May hot takes, but Miami is a small favorite at Florida in week 1. And I just look at that Florida schedule, and I say, if my one hot take, and I'll share the other if you care. But I hate to be the guy that's already striking up the coaching search in May. But, like, if Florida loses at home to Miami, and they may, Vegas has them as a slight underdog, I just don't see Billy Napier having the year that he needs to retain his job in the year 4. Now, let me ask you, on the David Nuño May hot take scale, is that a hot take? Is that a medium take? Where does that sit on the scale?
All right, so a couple things. I like hot takes when they're well thought out and formulated, okay. All right? I don't like just people saying things just to get likes and just to get people to subscribe to their channel. I'm okay.
Brian Kelly hates NIL like that.
Yeah, like, come on. Like, okay, whatever, right? Like, that's how I look at it. When you just say things, I got a problem with it. Now, I don't have to agree with hot sports takes. I sometimes don't have them because there's certain topics I just don't care that much, right? But when it comes to this one, I actually have said on this show, I think even today, maybe it was yesterday, like, I wouldn't be surprised if Billy Napier is out of a job come October 1st or by the second week of October, because when you look at it, the Miami game, that is absolutely in doubt for Florida. Now, they may be better than Miami, but I think Miami is trending in the right direction. All right, they hopefully will lose to Texas A&M on September the 14th. Okay, the next couple games after that, certainly winnable. But by the time you get to October 12th, Tennessee, those are 6 games. You might be 3-3. If you get blown out in those games, I don't know if Billy Napier's around, buddy.
Well, and how about this? Like, okay, so if and I don't have the full Florida schedule in front of me. We're just going to chalk up Kentucky as a win because it's Florida, it's Kentucky, right? Kentucky's beaten Florida 3 out of the last 4 years, including the last 2 times Kentucky has gone to the Swamp.
Wow.
Like, even that's like, yeah, like, okay, so, or maybe it's like 3 out of 5, whatever. Kentucky has largely played Florida well over the last couple of years. So it's like that all of a sudden isn't a win. And then obviously, you get to the back half of the schedule and it's insane. Now, I can make the counter argument for a lot of those teams. Like, I think, obviously here on May 15th, May 16th, we chalk up at Florida State as a loss. Will DJU's their quarterback? Is he, where is he going to be by week 12, week 13? LSU, on paper they're better today, but obviously there's something weird going on. New quarterback, you lose 2 first-round receivers. So you can make the counter argument for a lot of those games, but I do think so to your point, I don't think it's a hot take, but I do think that schedule is insane. You want to hear my other hot take?
Hold on. I want to investigate this with you.
Go ahead.
One follow-up.
Let's do it.
What keeps his job? Does 6-6 keep his job? The 7-5? Because I'm looking like if they lose to Tennessee on the road, if they lose to Georgia, when they lose to Georgia, if they lose to Texas on the road, if they lose to Florida State, there's still other big games on their schedule. That's 4 already.
I know. Well, and I'll tell you, this is, to me, I think the biggest story that people are missing going into this season, because everybody in the SEC is talking about, Texas and Oklahoma coming. I think what people are missing, and maybe not a really informed show like yours, but I think kind of the national discourse, I think what people are missing is it's not just Texas and Oklahoma coming, it's Texas and Oklahoma coming in a year where we eliminate division.
Right.
So now all of a sudden, if you're Florida, you always play LSU, you always play Georgia, you always play Tennessee. Well, now you're replacing South Carolina with Ole Miss, and you're replacing, you're replacing Vanderbilt with Texas A&M, and it's like all of a sudden that's just insane. And so yes, if we're just talking Florida, but I think Florida is just a bigger microcosm for how crazy this league is going to be. By the way, Georgia will be the preseason number 1 team in the country. I assume they're another one. I believe they lost South Carolina off the schedule. They lost Vandy off the schedule, and maybe somebody else. I know they play Kentucky, but all of a sudden, like Georgia, they're unbelievable. But they do have at Bama. They do have obviously Texas. They have all sorts of big games. So I haven't done the deep dive into all the schedules yet, but I just think that I don't think people fully realize just how crazy this thing is about to be next season.
Talking to Aaron Torres here on TexAgs Radio. You can check out his work at Aaron Torres Online or FSR. Hey, AT, you said you had another hot sports take. What was that one?
I think that ESPN putting Clemson, Georgia in the noon Eastern window, I think it's just more unofficial proof that nobody takes Clemson seriously as like a real program anymore. And I don't know what that even means, because they'll probably be favored to win the ACC. But I was thinking about it. And again, I think what you and I like about each other, I have hot sports takes, but they're usually pretty thought out. And Clemson and Georgia opened the 2021 season. Okay, so that was the year of Georgia's first national title. Clemson was, I believe, a 2.5 point favorite. And it was the big game going into week 1. This year, I think you could argue it's number 4, because obviously the programmers value A&M Notre Dame, LSU USC standalone game on Sunday, and the game we just talked about, Florida Miami, in that 3:30 window. I think the fact they put it at 12 Eastern basically says we don't think Clemson's going to be competitive. And if they don't think Clemson's going to be competitive, I understand it's Georgia, but that basically means they're not really a relevant team. Now, again, they may win the ACC, they may get to the playoff, but what does that even mean in 2024? So you get to the playoff, you get a first-round bye, and you get smoked by Alabama or smoked by LSU or smoked by Ole Miss. So that's my other hot sports take is 3 years ago, this was the game going into the season. Georgia's your likely preseason number 1 team, and they are burying it at noon Eastern. That says to me that ABC ESPN just doesn't have very much confidence in Clemson.
AT, I read this article this morning. USC reportedly paid Lincoln Riley $19.7 million during his first year at USC, according to USA Today. And it also says, it shows in addition to his $10 million salary, the university also credited Riley with $9.6 million in other reportable compensation. Look, I think you should be able to make as much as you want. Everybody. That's why we live in the United States. But that's, I guess, more ammo for those who are don't like the idea of the college athletes making the kind of money that they're going to start making and that they're making right now. When there's this kind of number being thrown around for extra stuff beyond the actual football program, is where you're like, if you got that kind of money, I don't see how it's going to be that hard to come up with the $20 million.
Hey, real quick, where was the Clemson take on the hot take scale? Was it like 4? What do you think?
Actually, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, AT. Let's go back to that for a second. I think Dabo is an example of a Jimbo Fisher, a guy who lost his curveball, right? Or lost his fastball, I should say. And you're watching it happen in real time and know there's still time to fix it, Dabo. There's still time. Yet they're too stubborn because of the success that they've had that you just know what's coming. And I really like Dabo. And I hope that they do pretty well. But it's just like, you got to evolve, buddy. There's a part of me that like applauds him saying, this is what I think is right for college football, and this is how I'm going to do it. There's another part is, like Coach Elko said, evolve or die, right? And he's not evolving.
Well, first of all, I agree 100%. I saw a quote. I don't even know where he said it. It was yesterday. And I talked about it on the show, but I didn't really, tweet about it or anything. Did you see the quote he had the other day, David? He goes, because they were, how about this? They were one of only 4 schools who didn't take a transfer this offseason. The other 3 are Army, Navy, and Air Force. And his argument, and I sort of get it. He's like, look, we started spring ball with 125 dudes. We have 127. We're going to be okay. But what he said was, and it was just the most quintessential Dabo thing ever. He's like, well, I mean, if you really think about it, isn't everyone a transfer? He goes, we took 25 transfers out of high school this year. And I'm like, dude, come on, man. Like, it's just, like, what are we even talking about at this point? Like, if you just don't want to do it, just say you don't want to do it. But, we took 25 transfers out of high school. It doesn't even make sense. And so it just kind of speaks to what you said is he was great. It was his era. He had his era. But listen, I said on my show today, I just think it's over. I just think there are certain things in life, they have their moment in time, and they're done. I use the example. The Olympics are coming up this summer, right? And at some point, somebody's going to write the article, why are the Olympic ratings so low? And it's going to be like, well, because 50 million people aren't tuning in to watch swimming on a Tuesday night. That's just never happening again. And that's what I feel like with Dabo. Like, he had his moment. It was really cool. It was really fun for college football. But it's just never coming back. And as you said, the sad part is this is something that is fixable if he were to choose as such. But he basically decided not to. So.
Well, and it makes me wonder. Look, I don't think that coaches, executives should listen to social media when you've been a successful CEO, right? Like, when you have been a national championship head coach, who cares what homeboys on Twitter say, right? Like, that part is not what I'm getting at. But if you take a step back and see, well, look, the success of the program hasn't been here the last few years, and this is happening during an evolving college football landscape, and I am not evolving with it, maybe the problem is me, not what's happening around me, because you can't stop what's happening around you.
Well, and there's only so many different ways that you can try to fix things. By the way, I apologize. I'm on the side of a highway. I don't know if you can hear all that background noise. I apologize.
Didn't know.
But, yeah. Huh. Okay, I don't know if you're being sarcastic or not. It was really loud next to me. But, well, anyway, so what I was going to say was I think the parallel that I see with Dabo right now is almost like what Calipari went through this offseason. I'm not saying Dabo's going to leave for some rival, but it was like Calipari. He went super old with transfers, then he went young again with freshmen. I know it's a different sport. Changed up his staff, and it was like at a certain point, it's like, dude, this is kind of on you. Like, there's no more moves to make. There's no more chess pieces. And with Dabo, it's kind of funny because it's like, okay, well, changed up the coaching staff. Brent Venables leaves. Bring in Garrett Riley a year ago. Whatever. It's like he's made every move other than the move that he knows that he has to make. And here's the thing, too. Like, it's just, my old buddy JJ Redick once called me an F-head on his podcast, which is okay, whatever. But he said, he was arguing about something, and he goes, hey, F-head, it's a math equation. And it's like, it's a math equation with Dabo. And I understand what he said. We had 127 players coming out of spring ball. It's like, but when you're losing, everybody loses like 15 to 25 guys in the offseason. And you're replacing them with 18-year-old kids. They're not all going to be able to play. And so and this is one thing I think Mike Elko did a really good job of this offseason, is it wasn't always the most high-profile guys that he went after. It was depth pieces where he said, hey, and I'm just using this as a hypothetical, but hey, cornerback from Sacramento State, we don't need you to come in and be Revis Island over here. We just need you to come in, learn the system, be a depth piece, back up so-and-so, and then in a year from now, maybe you're ready to play. And, that's what I think Dabo is missing. Nobody questions he still has plenty of front-end talent, but it's the depth. And obviously over the course of a football season, this is a conversation that we always have. But depth is what wins you championships, and I think depth is going to be more important than ever going into this season when you're playing 4 postseason games. So I know we're just beating a dead horse, this poor guy, but it's just frustrating when you see a very fixable problem and you just refuse to fix it.
Talking to Aaron Torres here on TexAgs Radio. AT, let's talk a little bit about the ACC. In a way, I don't want to say they're a microcosm for Dabo, but just interesting. The demise of Clemson feels like around the same time as the ACC. It starts off with Clemson and Florida State trying to get out. Now it seems like North Carolina's trying to get out as well. I mean, this shouldn't surprise anybody, but it's sure happening at the right time for these conferences, or excuse me, for these programs, that now that we are entering this new era where there is going to be more expansion, that we do have the 12-team playoff.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to a couple things. One, it's a shame that all of this is dictated by a couple things. It's dictated, obviously, by money, but I think it's dictated by a lot of kind of unintelligent people, not unintelligent, but school presidents, board members that don't understand the nuance of whatever. And it's like, it's like you look at North Carolina, right? They have this incredible, and I know college basketball doesn't matter, but they have this incredible 100-year history with Duke and NC State and all these schools. They're just ready to blow it up because they feel like, hey, we're getting screwed out of something. And it's like, I don't know, it's kind of sad, but I think it also speaks to, I think I'm where pretty much everyone in college sports is, and maybe it's not as pressing at A&M because you are in the cool kids club of the SEC and the Big Ten. I don't know what we get to and what it looks like and all that. I do just want to get there, though. Do we need to do 3 more years of, leaks and frustration and anger and this and that? It's like, do we have to do that, or can we just get to wherever it is, 24, 36, 48, whatever the teams are? Because that's the frustrating part, is every offseason you hear stories like this, and, it's starting up with the ACC. We dealt with it with the Pac-12 this year, and it's frustrating, it's sad, but I guess it's just the reality of the world that we live in. So.
Hey, last thing for you, AT. Doug Gottlieb, he's getting the Green Bay job. Your thoughts
My guy, yeah.
Yeah, is he one of your guys?
Yeah, I like Doug a lot. He likes me, too. I think, and I think you would like him, is, anybody who understands, the nuance of college sports and the problems, the strengths, the weaknesses, Doug likes you. And he's, he's a good guy. He's a good friend of mine. All I would say really quick is 2 things. Is one, is that I know that he has wanted to get into coaching forever. And I give him sort of credit. Is he just kind of refused to just, is it right, is it wrong? I don't know. But I know for a fact he had opportunities to be an assistant coach. And he just kind of said, look, I've got a great job. His kids were in high school. He has 2 daughters who just graduated, twin daughters who just graduated high school. So they're going to college. And the timing kind of worked out. And, as far as the Fox Sports Radio stuff, all I would say is I think that I probably have a little bit of a better grasp on that situation than maybe a lot of people reporting on it. I would be a little bit surprised if by week 1 of football season he's still hosting Fox Sports Radio. No one has told me that officially, but I've kind of just read the tea leaves. But I have no problem. I mean, listen, my whole thing, is it's almost like I use a very abstract example, but it's like if Harrison Butker's wife has no problem with what he said, I don't really care what he said. I worry about my family, whatever. And it's like if his boss at Green Bay and his boss at Fox Sports Radio has no problem with him trying to do both, I have no problem with it. Now, functionally, I think it's really hard to do both jobs at a very high level. But yeah, no, it's a unique story for sure. He has wanted to get into coaching. I think he might have gotten the Green Bay job last year if he was willing to give up the radio show. But, he stuck with it, and Green Bay liked him, and he sold him. And the one thing I will say, dude, loves college basketball, loves college sports, is very passionate about the student-athlete experience, kind of some of that old-school stuff that we talked about with Dabo. And I think he understands he's got to adapt to an NIL portal world. But, yeah, I like Doug, and I wish him nothing but the best.
Great stuff, AT. Appreciate your time, buddy. Send me a reminder which Thursday you won't be here, all right?
All right, it's going to be the next two, but I'll shoot you a text before I leave. No, it's not going to be next two. It'll be not. I'll shoot you a text.
Yeah,
We'll
now
text,
I'm all
okay?
confused.
I'll be here next week. Call me Thursday. Whatever time you want. I'll be ready.
Thank you, AT. Appreciate you, buddy.
Take care, man.
All right. Aaron Torres on the hotline. Appreciate his time here on the program. Let's hit a break here. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, we'll just do a little dialogue here. I got a couple of little takes to get into. Right now, Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They're on Highway 21 in Caldwell. You can find them online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. When you're looking for a vehicle, it can be stressful. I know that because I've done it. You've done it. When you're looking for a vehicle for your youngster who's about to start driving, certainly is going to be very stressful. When you're looking for a vehicle because you got an expanding family, there's all these different reasons. Because you just want to spend money, because you want a new car. Whatever your reason may be, let Caldwell Country Chevrolet be a part of the process to find you the right car at the right price at the right time in your life. That's what they do there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Great pricing, great customer service, which includes complimentary pickup and delivery to their service customers, and of course, just an overall great experience when you go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet. That it starts when you walk in the door. Actually, it starts when you go online and see their awesome selection. And don't forget about the great trade-in value that you're going to get when you go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet. About a 15-minute drive, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. Kay, did you catch what just happened to me?
Catch that? No. What happened?
So, like, I'm still feeling the effects. I was getting ready for the segment. You know, I see when we're on, and I pulled this a little bit closer to my mouth, right? The microphone, I should say, for the radio audience. And I pulled it all the way, and it went through my throat, and I almost coughed on air, or it was close. It was close to death. So I survived. A little embarrassing. I don't know why I'm sharing that with the public, but it just happened, and I still don't feel like I'm feeling up to par. It's TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's do a little think tank here. Gentlemen, Carson, you'll be a part of this conversation. Cade, you're part of the conversation. What does it take for buy-in? What do you think it takes for buy-in?
I think it's results.
Results? Okay.
I think you need to see it happen first, and then you buy in to where it could happen to you.
Okay. What do you think, Cade?
I think results to a certain extent, but also I think there has to, like, some good vibes prior to the season starting can get me to buy in a little bit. I feel like I need to see it, but I can begin to buy in before.
So I think buy-in takes belief in the person who's establishing not only the culture, but the expectation, the standard, right? Like, yes, results are ultimately we're going to keep buy-in, but we don't have any results yet with Mike Elko, right? But from what I'm reading, what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, players are buying in. Why are they buying in? Well, they got to believe in the process. They've got to believe in the philosophy that the head coach and the entire staff is putting together. And this is going to go to a quote from last night from Mike Elko at the Dallas A&M Club. He says, "We are working. We are training at a really high level. Our kids are feeling the benefits of that. We've had more kids come in for voluntary workouts on Saturdays than we've had at times for mandatory workouts in the past." So what that means to me, and I want you guys to think about it. In the past, voluntary meant voluntary. In the past meant mandatory. I got a stomach ache, I can't go. Okay? And I'm saying maybe at the end of the Jimbo regime and maybe at the very beginning of the Elko regime as people are being weeded out and philosophies change. What has changed? Man, I really want to impress my head coach. You've all had a job. Not you guys are kids, but you've all had a job where you got the new guy, like, man, I'm scared for my job. Like, I got to impress. The new CEO comes in, the new director of content comes in, and you're like, I got to make sure this guy likes me, right? Like, or you're like, I don't believe, dude, I'm a Jimmy guy. Jimmy's gone. I don't believe. Like, you've got to buy in because you see what the future could be with this. And I think that is what has happened with Coach Elko. These players are like, I want to impress my new head coach. I also see where we're going. I see the difference. I see the direction this program can go. And I'm kind of believing in his vision and what the staff is selling to me, right? That is all part of the process. Like the strength and conditioning side, okay, Tommy Moffitt, I'm starting to see some gains. I'm feeling it. I'm faster. I'm stronger. I'm more explosive. That's where buy-in. Yes, results are a part of it. But I think setting the standard, holding people accountable, and belief, those are all part of it. And taking what Coach Elko said yesterday at the A&M Club, Dallas A&M Club, makes me feel like, all right, not only are guys expecting results, they're seeing results, and they like what he is selling. It's not even what he's selling. They like the direction the program is going. And to me, that is all part of this conversation. Olin texted me, trust. Trust, absolutely. And how do you gain trust? Right? You gain trust, I think, there's multiple ways. We're not going to be able to answer it right here. But you gain trust by proof, by conversations, by not being the salesman, right? By actually taking time to want what's best for your players, for your team, for your employees, for your family. Not making it about you, making it about the us. And I think that's one of the things that he's doing that we all should praise. We're going to hit a break. Let's do this. Let's hit a break. We'll come back, and we'll talk to Kendall Rogers on the other side of this one because we got to get ready for this Arkansas series that we hope starts in a few hours. We'll talk about that. But right now, Rollo Insurance time, the official insurance provider of TexAgs Radio. The difference is real there. You know they can write any form of insurance to anybody, and what they want to do is educate you on what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you so you can accomplish all of your insurance goals, no matter what state or stage you're in, right? For us, we're old, right? We probably are about to get some benefits for being old drivers, right? Maybe when you get too old, those benefits go away. But then we're going to have 16-year-olds here in a month, exactly a month and a week, right? 5 weeks away from my boys being 16, and when we get them their license and they start driving, and the insurance cost for 16-year-olds is not. You want to be able to go somewhere where they're going to talk you through the process, get you the right situation, in the right situation, and make sure that your family is protected. And that's what they do at Rollo Insurance. Other people can say it, but the beauty is here in the Brazos Valley, you can see them all around College Station. You can go to HEB, you can go to the park, you'll see Jackson, you'll see Jason, you'll see the whole team out there. They do great work in this community. They've got 53 offices in Texas, but they're all over the place. Make sure you check out the website to learn more about it. But again, the headquarters on Highway 6. The website is rolloinsurance.com. Call them up, 888-44-ROLLO, or go to rolloinsurance.com. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Ross from east of East Texas asking, has weather call been made for baseball series yet? Nope. They don't need to make a call yet. The weather isn't bad yet. They'll monitor it as it happens. They'll make a decision. Let's talk about that series against Arkansas A&M, trying to get back on the right side of things. We go to the hotline. D1 Baseball's Kendall Rogers joining us here on TexAgs Radio. What's up, Kendall? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Just let's talk about this series, man. Still a lot on the line. Just your thoughts as A&M tries to get back on track against one of the better pitching staffs, if not the best in the SEC.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is when I look at this series from both teams' perspective is like, yeah, it's nice to win the SEC West, but ultimately you're just trying to make sure you're top 8. And the good thing is both these teams are in really good shape. I think unless one of these clubs got swept this weekend and then bowed out at Hoover really quickly, I think they would still be a top 8. But I mean, I guess that's the only scenario you can look at that you go, okay, there's a pathway to them not being a top 8. So, and just to make this short, like this is actually just like a fun series. Like, it doesn't really mean a ton. Neither team's probably winning the SEC overall. And it's all about the West. So should be an awesome weekend. If any weather cooperates tonight, which I'm not feeling great about that one.
So let's explore that a little bit. So you think A&M is safe regardless of what happens this weekend, unless like a catastrophic sweep, and you think they're a top 8 right now?
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing for them, and frankly for Arkansas, is like even if you lose a series, you still want to look horrible. Like you don't want to get run ruled and then get blown out twice and then play horrible in Hoover, because then there's a pattern, especially for A&M. You'd have lost 2 straight series, got swept at home, and then lost that game. So, if you look at your last 10, 15 games, it would not be very pretty. So, I think that's the biggest thing for me is to, and I don't expect this from either team. I expect pretty high-level play. And so, yeah, I mean, you look at A&M right now at 2 in the RPI, 23 strength of schedule, 19 wins against Quad 1 and Quad 2. Arkansas sitting at 20 wins against Q1, Q2, and 4 in RPI. Again, I don't see a very easy pathway for these teams to get out of the top 8.
Talking to Kendall Rogers here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. So is there a best-case scenario? Like, how high can A&M move back up? Let's say they do sweep Arkansas this weekend. Like, can they get back to being the number 1 team in the country in your eyes?
They could. Yeah, absolutely. If they swept this series this weekend, or even won 2 out of 3 and played decent in Hoover, they could 100% go in the selection Monday as the top overall national seed, because here's the thing. Remember, the SEC has an unbalanced schedule. So depending on how the committee review the unbalanced schedule between the two teams, it might actually end up favoring A&M over Kentucky. I haven't actually broken on the 2 schedules side by side. But I want to say that A&M has had a tougher schedule in conference. And so, they would absolutely have a chance to win the number 1 overall national seed if they win that series and then played well in Hoover. So, yeah, I mean, there is at least that on the line. Arkansas, I think, has a little more difficult pathway to the number 1 overall national seed. But, A&M, it's right there for them.
Kendall Rogers with us here on TexAgs Radio. So let's talk a little bit about momentum. That was a topic that came up earlier, when momentum matters. In your experience, like teams that win the national championship, when are they at their best? Obviously, they're at their best in the postseason, but like, is it throughout the season? Is it right as you're entering Hoover? Is like, what has been your experience? Is it kind of a mixed bag?
Yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag. I mean, frankly, if you're A&M and you're looking for a time of the year to have a couple of bad weeks, it would honestly be perfect that you had the last 2 weeks that you did, because at the end of the day, you're not going to lose the top 8. The series don't really mean a ton in the overall grand scheme of things. And so it happened at a good time. I think the biggest thing for me, when I look at A&M, is now, like, how do they play this weekend? Are the last 2 weekends an aberration because they've been on the road? Because remember, they're going to be in the postseason, or they're going to be at home throughout the postseason. So is it an aberration because they're on the road, or is this a disturbing pattern? Because if they go into this weekend and they're just punching out left and right offensively, then you start to wonder a little bit, okay, have teams kind of figured out the scouting report in this A&M lineup? Not to say they're going to be shut down every single game, but if you have an elite pitcher, can they be had? And I think we're going to find that out a little bit this weekend.
Talking to Kendall Rogers here on TexAgs Radio. All right, get us ready for Hagen Smith. We talked to Schloss earlier about him. Well, what can you tell us about the dominance that he's had this year?
Yeah, the biggest thing for Hagen is, it's kind of funny. You look at his numbers compared to Paul Skeens from last year, and they're not, like, crazy different. I mean, Paul had more strikeouts overall, but, I mean, the other figures, there's one figure that actually favored Hagen, like the opponent batting average, I think, was 25 points lower than Paul Skeens, which is really hard to do. But the biggest thing for him is he's got an explosive fastball. He's going to get to 96, 97 with his fastball. The off-speed stuff's really good. The slider is the best slider in college baseball. And so the biggest thing for A&M is, I don't know if your approach is sit on the slider or sit on the fastball. He's going to throw both those pitches a lot, and the slider's almost impossible to hit if he's on. So I'll be very curious to see what A&M does against him. Did they get a little creative? Do they try to make him move around a little bit? Schloss is not one to go out there and bunt much, but are you utilizing the bottom of the lineup to kind of get him moving around, get him out of his comfortability, so to speak? And so when he's on, man, he's special. I think about Paul Skeens last year against A&M. Obviously, totally different team for A&M, but you think back to that first inning that Paul Skeens had last year against A&M in College Station, you're thinking, oh, man, they might get him today. Then all of a sudden, I think the dude punched out like 13 guys the rest of the way and gave up 2 hits the rest of the game. But that's the kind of ability that Hagen Smith has. So I think the quicker you can at least get something off of him, the better. And here's the other thing about tonight's game, or whenever this game is played, is I think Brager can shut down Arkansas's offense. So I don't think this is a game where A&M has to score 5 runs off Hagen Smith. I think they can get away with scoring 4 runs tonight and have a chance to win, because my understanding is the wind's going to be blowing in. So I don't think either team's hitting home runs, and Arkansas is one of those teams that really is not ultra offensive. So they've got to kind of run into one to put up some cricket numbers.
We're talking to Kendall Rogers here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Let's talk about the offense, or lack thereof, recently from A&M. I think there's enough evidence to prove that they'll find their way out of it. But it has been a little bit surprising, the strikeouts with the lack of walks. I know this team strikes out, but both of those things I think were part of the reason we saw such struggles this past weekend.
Yeah, if you look at the Ole Miss and LSU series, and I kind of go back to the first 2 games against Ole Miss this past weekend, is look at how many times, I would love to see the stat on how many times A&M is down on the offensively. I get, being ultra patient at the plate, but there were multiple occasions to where they were down 0-2 in the count. And it doesn't matter who's on the mound. If you're up 0-2 in the count, your chances are pretty good of recording an out at bat. And so I think the biggest thing for A&M this weekend, I think you're going to see them be a little bit more aggressive. I'll say this. If you're taking pitches against Hagen Smith all night, it's going to be a long night, because he's going to throw strikes and he's going to have you down 1-2, 0-2 all night long. So I expect Mike Early's offense to be a little bit more aggressive this week. And I know they're predicated upon patience and working counts, working walks and things like that, running pitch counts up. But I think to just kind of get the mojo back a little bit, there needs to be some aggressiveness.
Talking to Kendall Rogers here on TexAgs Radio. Shane Sadeo, what a performance. I know we can't expect that,
how about that
every time he starts, but my goodness, how about that?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me now is, if you're A&M, do you like him as a long reliever? Or do you like him as a starter? I like him as a starter. I think if you look at A&M's starting rotation, Ryan Prager is obviously a proven commodity, but after that, man, there is not a proven commodity. And we'll see what Shane does this weekend. But if Shane pitches the way that he did last weekend, this weekend against the Arkansas offense, to me, he's ahead of Lampkin in the pecking order, because Lampkin, to me, is just too much of a mixed bag. I don't really love the stuff. He doesn't miss enough bats for me. Whereas Sadeo, with that fastball that, he can run it up to 95. But I don't know if it's extension or what, but the fastball from Sadeo, to me, looks like it just jumps on hitters a little faster than 95. So I love what I saw. I like his demeanor. And again, I think if he has another good start this weekend, I don't not only think he stays in the rotation, I think he's their number 2 guy.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Kendall, what about Teddy Burton? Getting him back Sunday obviously made a difference.
Yeah.
Just what he means to the lineup. You think about the bigger names, right? You think about the Bradens, the Jaces, the Gavins, but my goodness, Teddy Burton's been huge for them this year.
Yeah, who would have thought that losing Teddy Burton for 2 weeks, and I'm not just blaming him, his dismissal for this, but who would have thought that him being out for 2 weeks, the offense just kind of would go in shambles a little bit. But here's the thing. And, I was talking to someone about A&M's lineup the other day, and we were talking about just how many at-bats this lineup had, specifically from the transfers. And you go up and down the lineup, and it's like Jackson Appel, Hayden Schott, go look at their at-bat totals. Teddy Burton, go look at the number of at-bats he's had in college baseball. And so just having a guy like that in the middle of that lineup really, really helps. It's such a huge upgrade over some of the other options they have at the bottom of that lineup. And so, yeah, getting him back is just a really seasoned bat. He's not going to swing at garbage for the most part. The other thing is, before he got hurt, I mean, he was on fire. I mean, it was like 4 home runs in 4 games or 5 games or something like that. And so, you're getting back a guy who was hot in the lineup. So I'll be curious to see what A&M does this weekend offensively. I think they're going to score some runs against Gage Wood and whoever Arkansas starts in the third game. I'll be fascinated just to see them against Hagen Smith. I have a weird feeling about this one. I just feel like I wouldn't say dogged on them, but like everybody's been doubting A&M's offense the last 2 weeks. Hagen Smith has been unbeatable, and I just have a weird feeling this is where his win streak ends.
Talking to Kendall Rogers. Kendall, who has some ground to make up this weekend? Who's somebody that needs to have a big weekend to really still be in the conversation?
For the top 8?
Or just to make the tournament?
Yeah, well, I mean, other than A&M Arkansas, I mean, by far the biggest series of the weekend is LSU Ole Miss. I mean, you got LSU still needs to win. Still needs to win some games to get to 13 wins. Ole Miss 2 wins away from getting to 13 wins. And here's the thing: when you look at the bottom of the SEC, it's a hodgepodge of bubble teams. Vanderbilt needs to win some games weekend against Kentucky to be at 13 wins. Florida is going to have to win the series against Georgia this weekend to even have a chance. If they lose the series to Georgia, they got to go 3-2 in Hoover to make the NCAA tournament. I'm going to go ahead on record now and say there's no shot they're going 3-2 with that pitching staff. So I think Florida, this is an elimination series for them. If they lose 2, they're done. I'm not even sure they stay above 500. And then you have, the 2 teams at Ole Miss and LSU. So I kind of circle Ole Miss LSU. I think the atmosphere at the block this weekend is going to be electric. And there's nothing better than 2 teams playing for essentially an elimination series.
Kind of last thing for you, with the weather that's coming, and it is coming, does that favor Arkansas in this series?
I don't think so. I mean, it certainly, I don't think, I think it favors him in a Hagen start because there's a massive difference. It's funny, I was talking about this last night, but there's a massive difference between playing A&M at Bluebell Park at 1 o'clock in the afternoon when it's 90 degrees on a work day than it is if you're playing them at 7 o'clock tonight, with a packed house. So in that start, yeah, it matters. The other 2 games, I don't think it really matters at all.
That is Kendall Rogers. Kendall, great stuff, man. Have a good one.
Thanks, gang. Y'all be good.
Later, bud. Kendall Rogers, D1 Baseball here on TexAgs Radio. All right, let's do this. Let's open up the phone lines. We're going to open it up a couple different times. Right now, caller number 1. We're going to give you a free car wash from Aggie Land Express Car Wash in South College Station off of William D. Fitch in Greens Prairie. Aggie owned and operated with the friendliest staff and a personal touch. They offer a monthly membership. We'll give the first caller a free car wash right now from Aggie Land Express in South College Station. 979-693-1150. Time to end the day with Double Dave's. Caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up, you who are listening right now. Not the guy who calls repeatedly. He can call too, though. At 979-693-1150, your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave. Serving Aggieland since 1984. Your favorite pizza, your world-famous pepperoni rolls are there. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way. All right, let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Some text messages we did not get to during the show. We'll try to close out the show with.
Okay, so Walker in Houston texted earlier during the Connor O'Gara segment and said, A&M has been competitive with all the best teams in the conference, even with Jimbo.
Yeah, so I know it's real easy to pick on Jimbo. Jimbo was a really elite coach, right? And I will give him this. The amazing ability to stay in all games when you have no offense for a quarter and get down 18, whatever they were down to Ole Miss to start. The amazing ability to do that. Yeah, he knew how to manufacture games to keep it close and give you a chance at the end, which was at one point how he won games and towards the end how he lost games. But different team, different program, different direction. What's the other one you have for us?
From Eddie in Austin wanted to say during the segment, tell him Jimbo's coaching record is irrelevant.
What did he say? Jimbo's coaching record. What did he say? I guess irrelevant moving forward. No, the only thing is our program is behind. That's why there was a change in coach, right? Your program's behind, the perception of the program's behind where it needs to be, although it's better. The belief that A&M is this sleeping giant has lost, which is fine. I don't care if people don't believe that. Just go prove it. Until A&M proves it on a consistent basis, by the way. Because I guarantee you, if this year they go 10-2, just for the conversation, right? If they go 10-2, then next year, well, can they do it again? Oh, it's the first year of the playoff. They're only doing it because, they had this schedule, whatever. Whatever they're going to say. They'll find something to talk about. Go prove it this year. Go prove it next year and start building to where that is the consistency that we're talking about, to where you do get the benefit of the doubt. But who cares about opinions? I care, but it shouldn't eat us up. All right, good stuff today on the program. Olin Buchanan, solid. He was really good. Who else did we have? Schloss, always solid. Hopefully we get some games in here in a little bit. We had a Connor O'Gara, solid. Aaron Torres, Highwayman, solid. And Kendall Rogers giving us some perspective of this A&M Arkansas series. That's going to do it for TexAgs Radio here on a Thursday. Tomorrow on the show, no OB. OB's got on assignment doing something. So we're going to have JB Moss in studio around 8:35. We're going to have the baseball bunch. We're going to do recruiting country in the 10 o'clock hour. And I'm working on something for the last half hour of the show. We won't know until later on today, but it could be really good. All right, that's going to do it. We're going to see you all, I guess, tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you then.